subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
The 28th floor to stay for another day and continue to explore new floors tomorrow. Qinxing really didn't expect to meet AC and others on the 28th floor. Ah, brother Qinxing, you went to the dungeon. Seeing Qinxing, Diana was very excited. She jumped in front of Qinxing, stood in front of Qinxing with her hands behind her back, and looked at Qinxing with a smile. Behind her, AC and the other two slowly walked over. You are also coming to the dungeon. Morningstar nodded to several people and then said, Mr. Morningstar. Lafia called softly. Long time no see, Morningstar. AIC also spoke softly. It's not long, just 2 or 3 days. Morningstar smiled and said, It's 4 days, today is the 4th day. Tina corrected. There's no need to divide it so clearly. Morningstar smiled. Speaking of which, you came to the dungeon to test yourself? After smiling, Morningstar narrowed his eyes slightly and guessed the purpose of several people going to the dungeon. Well, I learned a lot from you, so I came down to try. I wanted to find you to come down together, but I didn't find you. I didn't expect you to come down to the dungeon. Dion smiled and nodded, explaining. Really? I'm really sorry. I came down early yesterday morning. After Dion explained, Qinxing also understood the situation of several people, and then smiled and said, I'm going to camp here now, and continue to enter the new floor tomorrow. What are your plans? After chatting with each other for a few words, Qinxing asked several people about their ideas. We are also going to go back. We didn't bring a camping tent. We will go to the 18th floor and stay in Rivera Town for another night. Tomorrow morning, we will go directly to the 31st floor. Brother Qinxing, do you want to join us? Ona answered. Originally, they thought that the monsters in the middle floor and the water mystery city were enough for them to test, but the skills learned from Qinxing were beyond their imagination. They still need to enter deeper floors, because they thought these floors were enough to meet their needs. And the prices of things in Rivera Town were ridiculously expensive. They didn't think about buying camping equipment. I didn't expect to meet Qinxing here. If I had known that camping equipment was a little more expensive, I would have bought one and camped on the 28th floor with Qinxing. Come back to the 18th floor with us, and then we'll go together tomorrow. Dion also persuaded. Yes, Mr. Qinxing, come with us. Lafia also said. Qinxing, come with us. AC also said. Listening to the 4 people's words, Qinxing hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Okay, I'll go back with you. Chapter 76. Prelude to the attack and defense of Rivera. What happened? After returning to the 18th floor, Qinxing and the others came to Rivera Town and found that the people of Rivera Town had gathered in the square. Diana shouted in surprise. Hey, it was fine when we left this morning. Dion shrugged. Let's go and take a look. Lafia suggested. Well, let's go and take a look. After all, we have to stay here tonight, so we can't just ignore it. Dion nodded, and then the group walked toward the square. Qinxing walked behind the crowd and followed them forward, but his eyes fell on the square. If I remember correctly, this happened during this time period because the guild Shadow Sage Fells entrusted the Ganesha clan's hard fist fighter Agana to go to the 30th floor to get the Fairy Essence Orb in order to obtain the Fairy Essence Orb, and then returned here to hand over the orb to the contact person. After handing over the orb, Hagana fell into the honey trap of Revis, who was ordered by the fallen fairy to retrieve the fairy orb, and a dignified 4.4 adventurer was killed instantly. After that, Revis also launched a riot, controlling the new type of carnivorous plant monster to attack the town of Rivera, hoping to find the person who took the fairy orb away from this chaos. But did this happen at this time? It has been almost half a month since the expedition of the 760 of the Loki family, and during the attack and defense of Rivera, Finn and Riveria followed down to the dungeon together. After that, Ace also eliminated the floor master Yudeos of the 37th floor alone and achieved the feat of upgrading to 4.6. But now it feels like the plot has gone too far. Forget it, it's a bit off, it doesn't make any difference. I won't follow the plot either. Thinking silently in his heart, Qinxing followed Ace and others to the square. At this time, in the square, the manager of Rivera Town, Porus, was arranging two teams of male and female adventurers to search the adventures of Rivera Town. From the Loki family and its sword princess and the others. Why are you here at this time? After seeing the appearance of AC and others, Boris immediately covered his forehead with a headache. At noon today, a murder occurred in a hotel in the town of Rivera. After a careful investigation, he found that the adventurer who was killed was an adventurer of the Ganesha clan, and it was Hagana, LV4 strong fist fighter. In addition, when Hagana died, he also booked the entire hotel and brought a woman to stay in the tavern. Now, the biggest suspect is a woman, and a very strong female adventurer who has reached at least IV.4 and is capable of killing Hagana. He is now investigating and wants to find this female adventurer. However, in order not to cause a commotion, he searched both men and women. For this female adventurer who killed Hagana, as long as he finds it, Boris is confident that he can gather the power of the entire town of Rivera to take her down. But now, 3 female adventurers who can kill Hashana have appeared at once, and Boris is naturally a headache. What happened? What happened? Tiona walked over and asked Boris. Boris naturally didn't think that the one who killed Hazana was a member of the Loki family. First, the Loki family would not attack anyone casually, and this was something that Princess Oreo could not tolerate. Even if they did, it was the brave man who gave the order and attacked openly. Second, he had some understanding of the 3 people situation. Ace and the other 2 would never do anything to seduce men. Tiona's identity could not seduce men at all. Tioni, this guy is said to have been it is impossible to be in love with Finn. As for AC, let alone this guy, everyone knows that AC is a 3-no girl, and it is impossible for her to do such a thing. As for Lafia, even if a fragile magician uses a honey trap, she can't kill a V.4 melee adventurer. What's more, Lafia is an elf famous for her cleanliness, so it is even more impossible for her to do such a thing. As for the last one, Morningstar, seeing Morningstar behind AC and others, Boris shouted unconsciously. Hello. Morningstar nodded slightly and greeted Boris. I am Boris, please teach me. But I didn't expect to see you here, and you are with the people of Loki's family. Boris nodded, introduced himself, and then said with some surprise, Have you found the murderer? Morningstar nodded, and then asked, The search has been carried out for half an hour, and it has not been found yet. It is possible that the murderer has already left Rivera Town. Boris shook his head and sighed. As the manager of Rivera Town, he is naturally responsible for the murder case that happened here, and is responsible for finding the murderer. If he fails to do so, his reputation will be damaged. Although he will not be removed from the position of manager by everyone, he will also lose the trust of other adventurers, and it will be difficult to mobilize these adventurers who have lived in Rivera Town for many years. At this time, AIC seemed to notice something and jumped up, rushing towards the outside of the square. What happened? Seeing ici a section, Boris immediately understood that AIC must have discovered something and hurriedly shouted. But AC didn't have time to pay attention to her and ran straight to her destination. Diana, Lafia, follow me. Morningstar told Diana and Lafia. I'll go now. Diana waved the second-generation Urga and ran out quickly, not feeling unhappy about Morningstar's order. Yes, Mr. Morningstar. Lafia also responded in a low voice, and then followed with a magic wand. Morningstar, what are you doing? Boris, who was watching this scene, was stunned. He didn't expect that a new adventurer like Morningstar could actually command Diana, a first-level adventurer, and 1,000 fairies who were said to have first-level magic firepower. Looking at the 2 of them, they seemed to be convinced by Morningstar. Am I still asleep? I was dreaming. But Morningstar ignored Boris. Morningstar, don't we need to follow? Dion walked to the side of Morningstar and asked Morningstar. Gonsi Morningstar asked Diana and Lafia to follow, but did not call her name. Dion thought there must be a reason, so she did not follow. Let AC and the others deal with it. Let's deal with the situation here first. Morningstar smiled and said, Didn't AC and the others say that they wanted to test the skills they learned from them? Rue Wacy, a monster with a limit close to 4.6, just allows the 2 to test it. AIC can't beat Rue Wacy alone, but with the help of Diana, even if he can't beat him, it won't be a problem. There's also Lafia. As for her and Dion, let's deal with the situation in Rivera Town first. After arriving here, Morningstar opened the light vein. Once the light vein was opened, the situation in Rivera Town was almost in Morningstar's sight. Good fellow, Morningstar will not mention the erotic scene of the female adventurer being searched. In the underground of Rivera Town, the new type of man-eating plant monsters lurking there made Morningstar miserable. What do you mean? Dion was a little puzzled. Morningstar, what do you mean by this? Not only Dion was puzzled, but also Boris was puzzled. I have such a detection magic that can detect the breath of life around us. There are a lot of monster breaths lurking under our feet. The murderer is probably a tamer. Boris, go and gather the adventurers and prepare for the battle. Morningstar looked at the ground under his feet and said lightly. Hearing this, Dion was stunned for a moment, and then quickly looked at Boris, who was a little stunned because of what Morningstar said. Boris, hurry up. Boris didn't know much about Morningstar, but Dion knew Morningstar very well, so there was no need for Morningstar to lie about this matter. Oh, after being yelled at by Dion, Boris also reacted. Although he didn't quite believe in Morningstar, Dion, a first-level adventurer, believed in Morningstar so much, and Morningstar was able to order the actions of Diana and Lafia just now. Boris thought that he should believe it once. If not, then he would think that he was being fooled, but if there were really monsters hidden underground, then he could also prepare for it in advance. Without any hesitation, Boris quickly left here and went to summon adventurers. Morningstar, the monsters underground. Could they be the new monsters that we encountered on the ground before? After Boris left, Dion asked Morningstar. Among the monsters she knew, the only monsters that could lurk underground were the Earthborn people and skeleton soldiers on the 37th floor. 3.1 in addition, it was the kind of monsters that were encountered on the ground during the previous Monster Festival. His intuition told her that the monsters lurking underground were the monsters that he had encountered in the monster hunt before. Yeah, that's the kind. Morningstar nodded. Really that kind? That's troublesome. Tioni, who had fought with the new type of carnivorous plant monster, knew very well how strong the new type of carnivorous plant monster was. The adventurers in Rivera Town were generally not very strong. In this attack, a large number of adventurers would definitely be injured or even killed by the monster. Don't worry, I will use magic to cleanse it later. It's the kind I used in the Monster Festival before. Facing Tioni's concerns, Morningstar smiled and said, Yes, your magic is also very strong. Well, I will protect you later, and you can use magic as much as you want. Tioni suddenly realized, and then said seriously, Well, this can be used because my magic is instant. Looking at the energetic Dion, Chinching smiled and said. Hearing this, Dion's eyes twitched, and then she rolled her eyes at Chinching. Chinching. Just then, a violent explosion sounded from the direction where AC, Dion, and Lafia were chasing. Bang! Chapter 77. Magic of Strengthening. With this kind of destructive power, it seems that the enemy on the other side can be confirmed to be IV.5. Listening to the violent explosion coming from AC's side and feeling the momentum brought by the explosion, Dion graded the enemies encountered by AC. This is about the damage she caused to the dungeon when she burst out with all her strength. Not to mention the destructive power, but the explosion sound is almost the same. There is no problem on AC's side, but there should be a problem here. Chinching took a look at the situation on AC's side, felt the scene of AC and Diana fighting with the red-haired weirdo Revis from the Veins of Light, and looked at the scene of Lafia running towards this side with the lively treasure Lilian of the Hermes family, and spoke. As soon as the voice fell, violent explosions were heard from all over the town of Rivera, and tentacle-like carnivorous plants broke out of the ground and spread all over the town of Rivera. At this time, Porus had just gathered the adventurers and had no time to inform the situation. Go destroy these monsters. Boris didn't care to say anything. He hurriedly gave the order and rushed towards the nearest piranha plant with his weapon in his hand. The huge axe chopped at the piranha plant. However, it was obvious that the piranha plant would not let Boris attack without fighting back. The level of the piranha plant was as high as LV3, and it was also very powerful in IV.3. Boris's attack was completely dodged by the piranha plant, and it launched a counterattack against Boris. One person and one flower fought like this. The adventurers summoned by Boris were stunned when they saw this scene. When did such a strong monster appear on the 18th floor? 26 could actually tie with Boris. You have to know that Boris is an IV.3 adventurer, and he is still very strong. Otherwise, he would not be the manager of Rivera Town. What are you still doing? Hurry up and act. Don't you see that there are so many monsters around? If we don't act now, the town of Rivera will be completely destroyed. During the battle, Boris noticed the reactions of the adventurers behind him one by one, and he was immediately furious and roared loudly. At this time, the adventurers in the town of Rivera reacted and formed teams to attack the nearest piranha plants. As for acting alone, don't be funny. Most of them are only IV.2, and they're even 4.1, and there are very few IV.3. Even LV3 monsters are very difficult to fight, and these adventurers of IV.2 or even 4.1, brought by their companions, act alone. Isn't this like an old man eating arsenic and being impatient with life? If they join forces, they can still deal with a piranha plant monster. However, these adventurers obviously overestimated their own strength and underestimated the number of piranha plants. Just when they were stunned just now, the number of piranha plants increased a lot. Even if all the adventurers in Rivera were dispatched, they couldn't deal with so many piranhas. The team, composed of many adventurers, soon fell into a disadvantage and retreated step by step after fighting with the piranhas. However, this is also normal. In the original book, the reason why the attack and defense of Rivera was able to end was because of the support of several first-level adventurers from the Loki clan, who cleared all the piranhas. Otherwise, relying only on the adventurers in Rivera, even if there were heavy casualties, they could not solve this crisis. After all, there were as many as 50 or 60 piranhas. At this time, Chinching, Tioni, you just need to help others clean up the monsters. Don't worry about me at all. Chinching looked at Tioni beside him and said, No, you have to have someone to watch over you if you want to cast magic now. Tioni shook her head and said firmly. She didn't know what instant magic was, but she knew one thing. That is, when a magician casts magic, he must not be disturbed. Because if he is disturbed, the magic will easily fail. Although some magicians can chant in parallel, and Morningstar is obviously a magic swordsman, so he can do this, but even for a magic swordsman, it is not the best to be undisturbed when casting magic. So she decided to stay by Morningstar's side, blocking the monster's attack from Morningstar, so that Morningstar can cast magic quietly. Seeing that Dion was so determined, Morningstar shook his head and didn't force it. After thanking Dion for her kindness, Morningstar began to cast his own magic. Rain of Light. This is the wide area tracking and annihilation magic that Morningstar used in the Monster Festival before. This thing is used with the Light Vein. This time, Morningstar is still going to use this kind of magic. The Light Vein has been turned on since Morningstar came here, but there is nothing to show. Next, Morningstar only needs to release the Rain of Light. A small magic circle emerged from the top of Morningstar's head and then flew towards the sky, becoming larger and larger, and in a flash it covered half of the town of Rivera. Looking at this huge magic circle, even though he knew before that it was the magic released by Morningstar, after seeing this magic circle flying out of Morningstar's body, Tioni couldn't help but sigh. It's really a huge magic circle. However, the next second, Tioni's expression condensed, and he looked at the surrounding piranhas rushing towards Morningstar. Obviously, the moment Morningstar released the magic circle, the piranhas had been attracted by the magic fluctuations here. The kukri on the waist was unsheathed instantly, and Tioni held it in his backhand. With a grin on his face, he rushed out quickly. All of you, come and die. Looking at Tioni rushing out, Chinching's eyes twitched slightly. Sure enough, Amazons are Amazons. As expected of a fighting race, they are all very irritable, especially Tioni, who is still the best among them. After complaining slightly in his heart, Chinching's eyes suddenly became serious and indifferent, with a slight light flashing in his eyes. Rain of light, he silently said in his heart, and the adventurers covering half of the town of Rivera burst into a fierce light, and then streams of light flew out from it, attacking the monsters that were constantly destroying the town of Rivera at lightning speed. In just a short moment, more than 40 carnivorous plants were pierced by the light and turned directly into ashes. This scene directly made the adventurers in Rivera who were dealing with the carnivorous plant monsters dumbfounded. In fact, when a magic circle appeared, the adventurers in Rivera Town had already noticed it. However, they were fighting the piranha plant and didn't pay much attention to the magic circle. They could only pay a little attention to it and prepare to dodge the magic as soon as the magic circle exploded. But they didn't expect that the magic of the magic circle would explode so quickly and with such terrifying power. The magic that flew out of the magic circle actually penetrated the monster that they had been fighting for a long time and couldn't take down in an instant, killing it instantly. So powerful. Is it the Thousand Sisters of Loki's family who made the move? No, that's not right. The Thousand Fairies don't seem to have used this kind of magic. The piranha monster that Boris was in charge of was also pierced. At this time, he looked at the magic circle that was gradually dissipating in the sky, and the first thing he thought of was Lafia. Because now in the town of Rivera, only Lafia has such powerful magic firepower. However, this idea was directly overturned by Boris himself as soon as it appeared. Although she had never seen Lafia release magic, she had heard that Lafia's magic was not like this. Boris, I have seen this magic before the Monster Festival. At that time, the magic captured by the Ganesha family rioted, and many monsters ran away, causing considerable losses to the Monster Festival. At that time, it was this magic that appeared, and all the rioting monsters were killed in an instant. An adventurer near Porus said, "Do you know who uses this magic?" Porus blurted out after hearing the adventurer's words. "No, I don't know. No one knows who cast this magic, but now it is certain that the user of this magic is in the town of Rivera." The adventurer shook his head and said, Hearing this, the image of Morning Star instantly appeared in Boris' mind. For some reason, Boris thought of Morning Star first. Because Morning Star is the most suspicious one, being able to command the first-level adventurers, and Tioni trusts him so much. Morning Star is the most peculiar one in Rivera Town now. If we talk about the user of magic, the most likely one is Morning Star. As for the others, he didn't urge him. He knew more or less about the adventures in Rivera Town now. Except for Lafia, no one has this kind of magic. No one has this kind of magic firepower. However, Morning Star has just upgraded to 4.2, and he hasn't even obtained title. Isn't this a bit exaggerated? Wait for 600 to ask again. Suppress all the doubts in your heart. Boris looked at the piranha plants that had not been eliminated, waved his hand, and called the nearby adventurers to start clearing these piranha plants. The magic just now helped them eliminate so many piranha plants, and now the remaining ones are enough for the adventurers in Rivera Town to deal with. On the other side, Morning Star. Morning Star did not continue to act after releasing a luminous rain. There are not too many piranha plants, only more than 60. He just eliminated more than 40 at once, leaving only about 20. Moreover, there were still 7 or 8 of these 20 in his basket. The adventurers in Rivera Town only need to take care of the remaining dozen. It's amazing, Morning Star. Why do I feel that your magic firepower has reached IV.5 now? After following Morning Star and killing several piranhas one by one, Tioni put away the cookery and said to Morning Star with a smile. Although Lafia said that Morning Star's magic was only close to IV.5, she always felt that Morning Star's magic firepower had reached IV.5. My magic firepower has reached IV.5 now. Morning Star nodded without hiding anything. He has a strong talent, both in close combat and in magic tricks. Although only a few days have passed, it has also greatly enhanced Morning Star's magic attainments. With stronger magic attainments, Morning Star's magic power has naturally increased. Morning Star's magic firepower has indeed reached IV.5. It can only be said that Morning Star's magic talent is even more terrifying than Lafia's. It's incredible. Whether you were hiding it before or what has only been improved in the past few days, Both situations that happen to you are very incredible. Hearing Chinching's definite answer, Dion sighed again. Thank you for the compliment, Chinching smiled and said, and then Chinching suggested, okay, we don't need help here. Let's go to AC and the others. Well, let's go and take a look over there. Dion nodded. Chapter 78, Tioni sighs. A different battle Morningstar can directly clear all the monsters. But Morningstar is not the babysitter of the adventurers in Rivera Town. It is enough to clear some of them. It is Morningstar's kind help. As for the rest, let the adventurers in Rivera Town deal with it themselves. Morningstar and Dion ran side by side, quickly rushing towards the direction where AC and Dion were fighting. However, when they were halfway, they met Lafia, who was running towards this side with Lillian. Behind Lafia was an unknown monster. The lower body was a carnivorous plant, and the upper body was humanoid. Judging from the body shape, it was a female monster, but it only had a mouth without a nose and eyes. Morningstar knew the identity of this monster at first sight. It was a defective product of the fallen fairy essence after the fairy essence or parasitized it. The product of the transformation of the monster itself after the fallen fairy essence or parasitized it. The stronger the monster parasitized by the fallen fairy essence orb, the stronger its strength. It is estimated that the level of the piranha plant is too low. So after parasitizing, it cannot exert the power of the fallen fairy essence orb at all, and such a defective product without even a face appeared. When Lafia saw Chinching and the others, she shouted for help. Chinching and Dion looked at each other, as if they had a tacit understanding. In an instant, Chinching entered the Samsara eye mode. The next second, Chinching and Dion turned into a residual image at the same time, passing by Lafia and Lillian. TSK. 2 severe wounds passed through the defective fallen immortal spirit clone. The fallen immortal spirit clone was cut in half by the 2 men without even a roar. The lower half of the body turned into ashes, while the upper half fell directly to the ground. After jointly injuring the fallen immortal spirit clone, Chinching and Dion fell to the ground. Looking at the fallen immortal spirit clone behind him, Dion stretched out his palm to Chinching. We have a good understanding. Hearing this, Chinching also stretched out his hand and patted Unny. Ah, we do have a good understanding. Awesome, it was solved in one go. Lafia had stopped and looked back. When she saw the fallen fairy clone digging its hands on the ground, trying to escape, she couldn't help but shout. Although she knew that they would not be in danger after Dion and Morningstar appeared, she couldn't help but exclaimed after seeing the 2 of them kill the fallen fairy clone instantly. Is this the strength of the first-level adventurer Angry Snake? But who is the other one? Lillian was also surprised by Dion's strength, because she had just started, but she was no match for the fallen fairy clone, otherwise she would not have been dragged away by Lafia. However, what she was more concerned about was Morningstar, who attacked with Dion, because Morningstar was in the Samsara eye mode at this time. Even if Lillian had seen Morningstar's information, she could not recognize Morningstar at all. However, this last sentence was said by Lillian in her heart, and she did not say it directly. At this time, Morningstar and Dion had already arrived at the upper body of the fallen fairy clone. Morningstar, you have a lot of magic. But what on earth is this guy? Dion looked at the fallen fairy clone who was tied up by the white light chain and could not move at all, and sighed. And then she became curious about the identity of the fallen fairy clone. I've encountered this thing before. It's a parasitic monster. It looks like a gem with a fetus inside it. This gem can parasitize on monsters, transform them, and make them stronger, Morningstar said. Although it was a lie, some information about the fallen fairy clone could be handed over to Loki's family and let Finn investigate. Hey, a parasitic monster? It's the first time I've heard of it. It seems very important. Tell the leader when you go back. Tioni nodded after hearing this, and then said. Then Trouble One stood up. Morningstar, kill this guy. Kill this guy. And her great feat of level 3 should be enough. Don't underestimate the strength of the fallen fairy clone. After parasitizing the man-eating plant, the potential ability of the fallen fairy clone is stronger than Goliath. In other words, the strength of the fallen fairy clone of the man-eating plant is closer to IV.5 than Goliath. Such a being Defeat gained by killing it is definitely enough for an adventurer of level 2 to upgrade to level 3. On the contrary, it is useless to let her kill it. As for handing it over to Lafia, that is even more impossible. After all, it was she and Qinxing who did it together, and it had nothing to do with Lafia. Yes, Qinxing nodded, and then cut across the neck of the fallen fairy's clone, beheading it directly. The upper body of the fallen fairy's clone collapsed directly, burning into ashes. With a ding-dong sound, a yellow magic stone fell in front of the two. It's this new type of magic stone. Morningstar, is it okay to give this thing to me? Dion picked up the magic stone on the ground and said to Morningstar, "It's okay to take it away." Morningstar nodded and replied, "This thing is not a normal magic stone. It can't be exchanged for Wallace, and it's useless for Morningstar to take it." "Thank you," Dion thanked, and then stuffed the magic stone directly into her chest. Accompanying Dion's movements, a wave of turbulent waves surged in front of her, and Morningstar couldn't help but twitch his eyes when he saw this scene. This guy Dion doesn't treat himself as an outsider at all. "How about it, sister? Do I look good?" Dion noticed Morningstar's gaze, and immediately a smirk appeared on her face. She came over and looked at Morningstar and said jokingly, "Thank you, but I have Hestia. Please don't tease me." Morningstar pushed Dion's face away and said lightly, "Haha, so what if you have a partner? What we Amazons are best at is snatching partners." Tione heard this, immediately put one hand on her waist, full of confidence. "Don't make a fuss. Don't you like Finn?" Morningstar rolled his eyes and said speechlessly. Hearing this, Tione frowned slightly and sighed. "What's wrong?" Seeing Tione's look, Morningstar was a little confused. "It's okay, let's go. Find Lafia. Let's go to meet up with AC and Tiona." Tione shook her head and said, and then walked towards Lafia, who was running towards this side. Seeing this, Morningstar did not continue to ask and stepped up to follow. "Tione, Morningstar, thank you." Lafia ran over and immediately thanked her. "Don't be polite with me. Just thank Morningstar." Tione waved her hand and smiled. "No need to thank me either. Let's go and meet up with AC and the others." Morningstar also waved his hand and said before Lafia spoke again, "Well, okay." The four of them ran in the direction where Lafia and the others came from. Lillian was running at the back, and she was completely confused. At this moment, she was completely stunned by Lafia's words just now, and she ran behind the three people in a daze. There was no way. She knew the name Morningstar, a new adventurer who refreshed the Oreo Adventurer upgrade record. But Morningstar is just upgraded to 4.2, right? But why does Morningstar, who is just upgraded to 4.2, have such terrifying strength? Just now, being able to kill the monster directly in seconds was definitely not just the credit of Tione alone. Morningstar must have also made a lot of efforts. "Hermes, sir, the adventure we are paying attention to seems to be very impressive. The battle on A side is still going on, and Qinxing and his companions arrived here in 2 minutes. However, after arriving here, the scene in front of them surprised Qinxing and his companions. Because Diana did not participate in the battle, it should be said that she withdrew from the battle. In the image sent back by Qinxing's light vein just now, Diana was fighting with Revis together with Ace. But now Diana is standing outside the battlefield watching the battle between Ace and the red-haired female adventurer. Qinxing has already turned off the light vein and really doesn't know what happened in this place. "Ah, you're here." Diana smiled and waved to greet Qinxing and his companions when she saw them. "Why didn't you join Ace?" Dion asked in a strange voice. Originally, she thought Diana was fighting the enemy with Ace. Otherwise, why didn't this guy come to help Lafia when Lafia was chased? "I was fighting that guy with Ace just now, but I retreated. This guy is very strong. If it was the previous me and AC, we would not be his opponents at all. If we fought alone, we would definitely be crushed by him. However, I am different from AC now. Although AC is at a disadvantage, she will not be crushed. Now AC is using this guy to hone herself and hone the fighting skills she learned from Brother Morningstar." Diana nodded, then explained with a smile. Tione heard this and nodded suddenly, then began to watch the battle. On the battlefield, AC's strength was obviously not the opponent's, and the opponent's strength could even obviously crush AC, but the situation did not develop in the direction of Zeech. AC used very exquisite fighting skills to block the opponent's attack dangerously. She was not completely crushed by the opponent, but used the opponent as a whetstone. Stayed, tempered himself over and over again. Chinching also saw the situation in front of him and was very surprised. Chinching knew that in the original book, when AIC faced Revisit, she was crushed all the way to the end and was not the opponent of the opponent at all, and was directly seriously injured by the opponent. If Finn and Lavilia had not arrived in time, AIC would probably have been knocked unconscious by Revisit and taken away. But now, although AIC is at a disadvantage, she fought back and forth with Revisit, and it was not one-sided. You are really a genius. The fighting skills learned from me can be used to play such a strong effect in just a few days. Looking at AIC's performance at this time, Chinching couldn't help but sigh and murmured in his heart. Chapter 79 Inluin's Explosion. Revis, the number 2 monster, the strongest monster besides Fellweiss. When he first appeared, his strength was in the transition stage between IV.5 and IV.6, between IV.5 and IV.6. This guy almost wiped out the entire Loki clan in the future, so it's best to kill him now. Looking at Revis on the battlefield, Chinching's eyes condensed slightly. Revis is growing very fast. In the future artificial maze battle, Revis has grown into an invincible monster in LV6. Revis's surprise attack almost made Finn offline and also made the Loki family leaderless. If AC hadn't used wind magic to inform the location of all members of the Loki family when she was defeated, the Loki family would have been trapped in the artificial maze Gnosis. Although there was not much contact, Chinching began to regard AC and others as friends. I'm a strategy-type family. In future adventures, I should not be able to bypass the Loki family. After reaching the deep level, there will definitely be a time for cooperation. So Chinching doesn't want the Loki family to get into trouble. Tiona, spread out and block all the routes that this guy can escape. Don't let this guy escape. Looking at Revis on the battlefield, Chinching said to Dion and Diana beside him. Hearing Chinching's words, the two sisters were slightly stunned, but still nodded in agreement. Then, the two quickly ran to the left and right, and on the battlefield, Revis also discovered this. It's a bit bad. Arya, let's stop here today. Revis, who noticed the actions of Dion and Diana, naturally knew what they wanted to do at the first time. Revis, who saw the actions of the two, made a decision immediately. That was to retreat. At that time, the Arya in front of her made her feel a little tricky. Although her strength was much stronger than 603 Ace, Ace made up for the lack of strength with superb skills. The one before when Amazon didn't withdraw, she was even suppressed by the two of them. Now, there are two more. Although I don't know the strength of Dion and Morningstar, here Revis doesn't seem to know the information of Loki's family. Otherwise, she would have recognized AC's identity at the first time. As for Morningstar, the location of Morningstar is also a blockade point, so it is naturally counted. But if they can blockade together with Diana, then their strength is definitely not much worse than Diana. AC and Diana have caused her a lot of trouble when they join forces. Now, there are two more beings of the same level. It is even more impossible for her to deal with them. The idea of taking AC down and taking her to see the monster is not feasible. Now I have to worry about my own safety. Although I am very confident in my strength, if I continue, they will be taken down by these people. There are not many trained carnivorous plants left, and they can't be of much help. Now, while the enemy's blockade network has not yet been fully formed, the best way is to evacuate quickly. After taking a glance at the situation of the three people, Revis locked on Morningstar. Because Morningstar still has Lafia and the guy who held the orb before. These two people are completely a burden to this battle. In order to avoid the rat, Morningstar is the direction to evacuate. Without any hesitation, Revis chopped AIC away with a knife, and then turned into a residual shadow and rushed towards Morningstar. Tioni and Tiona, who were running and had not yet reached the appropriate blockade location, and AIC, who was chopped away, were all startled when they saw this scene, and then they all rushed here at the fastest speed. On this side, Chinching was also a little surprised when he saw Rue Wei rushing towards him. However, the next moment, Chinching entered the Reincarnation Eye mode. After entering the Reincarnation Eye mode, the Seeking Jade behind Chinching flew out quickly. 5 Seeking Jades flew in front of Chinching and rotated rapidly. In an instant, a huge tornado took shape. Seeing this scene, everyone present was stunned, and Rue Wei's pupils also shrank, and the vertical pupils became thinner. Rue Wei could feel that this tornado was very dangerous and brought her a strong sense of crisis. She had a feeling that if she was hit, even if she didn't die, she would definitely be seriously injured. Without any hesitation, Rue Wei spent a lot of strength to stop her charge, force her body to stop, stabilize her body, and stop moving forward. However, Rue Wei stopped, which did not mean that Chinching would stop. In order to break through as quickly as possible, Rue Wei used her fastest speed. In just a blink of an eye, he appeared 5 meters away from Morningstar. A distance of just 5 meters can be considered as zero distance in a first-level battle, and it can be crossed in an instant. And what Morningstar released was a tornado, and its speed was even faster. Silver Wheel Rebirth Explosion. With a low shout from Morningstar, the violent tornado quickly swept out. In just a moment, it crossed the short distance and appeared in front of Reese. Reese had no way to avoid it and could only raise the big knife in her hand to resist. Crack! Bang! With the sound of breaking, Reese's face changed drastically. The next moment, Reese was swept into the tornado. Screams came from the tornado and resounded throughout the battlefield. In the tornado, Reese's body was constantly injured by the rotation impact of the tornado's strong wind. Even though Reese's body was very tough, so tough that Finn broke his finger when he punched her with his fist, she was still greatly injured in the face of the raging Silver Wheel explosion. The strong wind of the tornado directly plowed the ground and plowed the earth. Does Brother Morningstar have such a powerful skill? He actually rolled this guy in. Diana, who was rushing over here, was stunned when she saw this scene. Although she knew that Morningstar was very strong in this state, she didn't know that Morningstar in this state could release such a powerful wind attribute magic. In Diana's eyes, this is wind attribute magic. After all, the elemental attribute attack in the Earth Trouble has no other ability except magic and magic sword. And Diana can't sense the fluctuation of magic power like Lafia, and it is so powerful that it can cause damage to Revisit. Listening to Revisit's screams, it seems that the damage is still very strong. You know, Revisit is a guy that neither she nor Ace can take down. If this falls on me, wouldn't I be even more miserable? After all, I am not Revisit's opponent. Even Revisit is like this, so I naturally can't be good. Not only Diana, Ace and Dion were also shocked by the sudden outbreak of Morningstar. Another skill? Behind Morningstar, Lafia, who had not felt any fluctuations in magic power, complained at this time. When Morningstar killed the piranha plant monster with one move before, Lafia was shocked by Morningstar's skills. Such a powerful stream of light was not caused by magic, and now, such a powerful tornado was not magic. The power of this tornado has completely reached the power of the first-level magic firepower, and it is still very powerful. But this is not magic. For a moment, Lafia almost had an unstable magic heart. Morningstar's strength has been improving, and his physique and physical strength have been improving. Naturally, the power of the Reincarnation Eye mode is also increasing. Before Morningstar was not upgraded at the level of IV.1. When his ability value only reached SS, he used Shao Kong's physical strength to kill the lonely Lord Goliath directly. Now that Morningstar has upgraded and has walked a long way in IV.2, Morningstar's Reincarnation Eye mode is naturally more terrifying. In the Samsara Eye mode, Chinching may only be able to exert the strength of IV.4 in close combat, but the Samsara Eye mode is not limited to 4.4. Although it cannot threaten IV.6, it is enough for Chinching to easily deal with IV.5. In the LV5 level, Chinching's 2 Samsara big moves are almost invincible tricks. However, the two big moves consume a lot of physical strength. This move of Silver Wheel Samsara Explosion directly drained the 7 levels of physical strength that Qinxing currently has. It's not that Qinxing doesn't want to use more physical strength, but Qinxing now only has 1 level of physical strength left. The whole day of fighting today has consumed a lot of Qinxing's physical strength. Now, there's so much physical strength because it is recovered on the way back. On the way back, AIC and others were fighting, and Qinxing was recovering all the time. Until just now, Qinxing recovered almost everything. As for using all the physical strength, that is absolutely impossible. Gentlemen are not good under the wall. No matter how powerful the special move of the Samsara Eye mode is, Qinxing can't use all his physical strength. Although you can use the potion to restore physical strength later, who knows what will happen before you drink the potion and before the potion takes effect. After a move of Silver Wheel Rebirth blasted out, Qinxing quickly took out the potion to restore physical strength and drank it, and began to recover physical strength. However, at this moment, a loud noise sounded, and the Silver Wheel Transmigration Explosion released by Qinxing exploded directly, and Rue Weixi's figure fell from it. Seeing this scene, Qinxing was slightly surprised. I didn't expect Rue Weici to be able to destroy the Silver Wheel Transmigration Explosion. However, think about it. Rue Weici is not an ordinary IV.5 now. Even AIC, an IV.5 on the verge of upgrading, can't take it down with the Wind Spirit speed. Her strength is between LV5 and IV.6. It is normal to be able to break the Silver Wheel Transmigration Explosion. At the moment when the Silver Wheel Transmigration Explosion was broken and Rue Weici fell from it, 3 figures rushed towards Rue Weici from 3 directions. Bang! Chapter 80 Shilafia. The reason why Tioni sighed, damn. I chose the worst choice. As soon as she fell, Revis was attacked by Ace and the other 2. The seriously injured Revis cursed in her heart while struggling to resist the attack of the 3. The reason why she chose Morningstar as the breakthrough point was because she saw that there were 2 burdens, Lafia and Luliyun, on Morningstar, but she didn't expect that she would hit a wall by choosing this side. Revis didn't expect that Morningstar actually had such a powerful magic. Not only could it sweep her in, but the destructive power was also so strong. Her physique was very tough, but she couldn't withstand the terrifying rotation impact. In just a dozen seconds, her body was severely damaged to this extent. In her current situation, it was troublesome to deal with Arya alone, not to mention fighting 3 adventurers who were similar to Arya. Tisk, I'm going to be killed right after I made a move. What bad luck. Since I can't escape, I'll just fight with all my strength. After secretly cursing her luck for being shitty, Rue Weici was relieved. She didn't think about how to escape anymore. She was ready to fight with all her strength and end it with a fierce battle. Since her resurrection, Rue Weici has been destroying monsters in the deep layer and growing by swallowing magic stones. This time she came to the middle layer because of the mission sent by the Fallen Fairy. She was resurrected by the Fallen Fairy and had no ability to resist that guy. But she didn't expect that she would die before she could achieve her goal. She just came out of the mountain and didn't complete the mission of the Fallen Fairy. But she encountered this situation. She met 4 first-level adventurers at once, and they were all adventurers who were not much weaker than her. One of them was even stronger than her, and a trick severely injured her. She didn't know how to describe her luck. However, since she couldn't end well, Rue Weici naturally wouldn't worry about anything else. Now Revis only wanted to have a hearty battle as her ending. AC and the others naturally didn't know what Revis was thinking. The 3 of them only knew that Revis was the murderer of this murder case, and she was obviously hostile to them. Since she was an enemy, she had to be captured. They would only give Revis 2 choices now. Be severely injured by them, then capture her, bring her back to the ground, and imprison her, and obtain information from Revis. Whether it was how Revis knew the name Arya, or the relationship between Revis and the new type of carnivorous plant monster, and the orb that was very ominous at the beginning of the 10th move. These were the information they needed to master. The second choice was to kill Revis directly. If they couldn't capture Revis and tie her back, then they would naturally not show mercy. It was already very difficult for Revis to deal with AC and Diana alone. Now, there was another Dion. Moreover, the three of them were from the same clan, often went on expeditions together, and cooperated very well. The three joined forces, and Rue Wacy had almost no power to resist. She would be injured by any of the three people's attacks in almost every round. After just 1 minute, Rue Wacy's body was still full of wounds, and there was no good part. There were wounds everywhere. As for Qinxing did not join the battle. The Silver Will rebirth explosion just now consumed a lot of Qinxing's physical strength, and now it is recovering. And the three people cooperated too well. After Qinxing joined in, the rhythm of the three people was disrupted. The three people joined forces and were enough to deal with Rue Wacy. Qinxing just needed to hold the line on the side. Asan and the others seemed to have become stronger. Standing next to Qinxing, Lafia murmured in a low voice. Even a layman like her who didn't understand close combat at all could see at this time that the strength of Master AC seemed to be much stronger than before. As for why it was strong, she couldn't see it. It was just a feeling. But Qinxing could see it, because the three of them are integrating all the skills they learned from me into their own fighting rhythm, and turning these fighting skills into their own things. If this continues, after today, I don't have to worry about disrupting their rhythm and continue to spar with them. After learning fighting skills from Qinxing, AC can fight with other people and integrate the fighting skills she has learned into her fighting skills, but she can't Yoshi fight with Qinxing. Because if they continue to spar with Qinxing, they will only continue to learn new skills from Qinxing. By then, they have not yet integrated what they have learned before, but have gained new things, which will only disrupt their rhythm of integrating these skills. So Qinxing didn't choose to continue to fight with AC and others before. This is also the reason why AC and others came to Qinxing and didn't think about continuing to fight with Qinxing, but only wanted Qinxing to follow them into the dungeon and give them some pointers when they were fighting. Because they also know this. If it weren't for this reason, AC Siren would have come to the door again the next day to continue fighting with Qinxing. Especially AC, who is eager to improve her strength. As long as it is not a reward that she cannot give, she is willing to give it in order to become stronger. And now it seems that this battle with Rue Wacy is enough for the three of them to completely integrate the skills they have learned. To be honest, Qinxing likes to spar with AC and others. There is no way to let the battle with the first-level adventurers, such as AC, bring too much improvement to Qinxing. Qinxing's talent allows Qinxing to completely transform the sparring with AC and others. After just a few battles, Qinxing's ability value has increased so much. How could Qinxing not desire such a good way to become stronger? Thinking of this, Qinxing couldn't help but raise a barely perceptible arc at the corner of his mouth. Get stronger. Qinxing really wants to get stronger now. Arnold, Mr. Qinxing, excuse me? At this time, Lafia on the side suddenly spoke to Qinxing in a low voice. What's wrong, D? Why are you so polite all of a sudden? Seeing Lafia so polite, Qinxing was a little confused and asked back. Yes, Mr. Qinxing, your magic is very powerful. If you can, please share your magic experience with me. Hearing Qinxing's words, Lafia hurriedly said what she wanted to say. When she ran over just now, she witnessed the scene of Qinxing releasing the rain of light again, and also felt the magic fluctuations of Qinxing's rain of light. That is definitely the first level of magic fluctuations. In other words, Qinxing's magic firepower has reached the first level. In just a short week or so, Qinxing's magic has been upgraded to another level, which shocked Lafia. At the same time, she was more determined to exchange magic knowledge and experience with Qinxing. So, looking at Qinxing who was watching the game, Lafia prepared herself mentally, and then mustered up the courage to say this. Sure, we can exchange magic when we have time. Hearing this, Qinxing was slightly stunned, and then he agreed directly. Lafia's request is also a good thing for Qinxing. Although Qinxing controls the elements of light and darkness, he can create magic of these two elements at will. but it is not a bad thing to exchange magic with other magicians. Chinching still knows the principle of brainstorming. What's more, Lafia is one of the best magicians in Oreo, and she's a very talented magician. Chinching will not lose anything by exchanging magic with such a magician. Thank you very much. Hearing Chinching's agreement, Lafia smiled and her eyes lit up, and then she bowed to Chinching to thank him. Lafia, don't bow all the time. Chinching complained helplessly. Lafia is just like this, and she seems to be very unconfident about herself. Ah, yes, Mr. Chinching. Hearing this, Lafia responded quickly. Well, let's make an appointment later to exchange magic. Chinching nodded and said. Then Chinching seemed to remember something, leaned close to Lafia's ear, and asked in a low voice, Hey, Lafia, what happened to Dion? I just mentioned Finn to her, and this guy actually sighed. Being so close to Chinching and whispering in her ear, Lafia's pointed ears turned red visibly, and then quickly spread to the whole face, and there seemed to be signs of smoke on the top of her head, and the whole person froze in place. Lafia. Seeing Lafia's change, Chinching was stunned and quickly stepped back. Why did Lafia react so strongly after I said something in her ear? Oh no, it's okay. Chinching stepped back, and Lafia calmed down a little, but she still didn't dare to look at Chinching. Then, Lafia answered Chinching's question. I don't know the specific reason, but I heard from Diana that Dion seemed to have confessed to the captain, but it didn't work out. Was she rejected? Chinching heard it and immediately understood. Well, it should be. Lafia nodded repeatedly. Dion-san is always like the captain, but has never confessed. This time is the first time, and he was rejected by the captain. I think Dion-san may give up. In the past, we walked together with Dion, and Dion would mention the captain from time to time. But these days, Dion hasn't mentioned the captain at all. Lafia hesitated for a moment, and then said again, Rejected. Rejected is fine. There is no future for Tioni and Finn. Finn's goal is to revitalize the dwarf race. Even if he wants to find a partner, he will only look for it among the dwarfs, not women of other races. Tioni is just simply in love with you. It will only waste time to continue, so it is better to give up this relationship as soon as possible. Hearing what Lafia said, Chinching sighed slightly and then said, Chinching, who has read the original book, knows that Finn's goal is to revitalize the dwarfs. Even if he wants to get married, he will not marry women of other races, but only among the dwarfs. Tioni will never get a response from Finn. Now that Tioni has confessed, Finn naturally rejected it directly and did not give Tioni a vague hope, because such hope would only be despair for Tioni. I didn't see how Finn treated Tioni. Even if there was, it would be considered a second setting. The sooner the breakup, the sooner the cleanup. Lafia didn't know how to respond to Chinching's words. But Lafia felt that Chinching's words were right. Tioni is very concerned about her group. Everyone can see clearly the feelings of the head. But the leader of the team obviously is not ready to accept this feeling. This time, Tioni's confession was directly rejected, and the leader is given a clear answer. If Tioni continues like this, it will only cause trouble to herself. While Chinching and Lafia were chatting on the battlefield, after nearly 10 minutes of fierce fighting, Riwizi was already exhausted. Blast out the last bit of strength, Riwizi blocked the joint attack of AC and the other two, and chopped the 3 people away. The whole person stood quietly in the same place, without moving, but his eyes fell on AC. Arya, go to the 59th floor. Go down. Chapter 81. Entrance to the artificial maze. Upgrade reserved. Vongala box. After Ruis finished saying that, Ruis gave up the desire to continue fighting. She stood there, letting AC and the other 2 attack, motionless. 3 attacks fell on Ruis without any resistance, and Ruis was immediately hit hard and her body began to collapse. What do you mean by what you said just now? After flashing past Ruis, AC quickly turned her head and questioned Ruis. However, Ruis, who was in a state of collapse, obviously did not answer AC's plan, but just looked at AC quietly, then closed her eyes and let her body collapse. In just 3 seconds, Ruis's body was completely reduced to ashes. At the center of her heart, the yellow magic stone clicked and exploded directly. So far, Ruis, who appeared in front of the adventurer for the first time and almost caused the annihilation of the entire Loki clan in the original book, was completely killed here. In Chinxing's previous life, there was a saying that debut is the peak, but in Ruiwazi's case, debut is death. Seeing the magic stone appearing from Ruiwazi's body, AC and the other two were stunned. Magic stone is only found on monsters. But why does the red-haired woman in front of them have a magic stone like a monster? 777. Ace and others found that things seemed to be developing in an unpredictable direction. The appearance of magic stones in human bodies, if this matter spreads, will definitely cause a huge commotion. They don't know what's going on, but the person with the magic stone in his body is definitely a monster. There's no doubt at this time. But now, a human has a magic stone. Who knows if this is an isolated case? Are there humans on the ground who are hiding the same existence as Revis? The three looked at each other and saw the meaning in each other's eyes. Go back as soon as possible and tell Finn and Loki about this. After AC and the other two killed Revis, the adventurers in Rivera Town quickly killed the piranha plant controlled by Revis. Many adventurers in Rivera Town began to clean up the mess and started to destroy the destroyed Rivera again. The reconstruction of the town of La and Chinxing and others also stayed in the hotel for free under the warm hospitality of an innkeeper. As for the reason, it was naturally because AC and others found and killed the murderer. The innkeeper was very grateful to AC and others. After all, it happened in the hotel he opened, which could easily affect his business. Now inviting Chinxing and others to stay in is also a publicity. But these are not what Chinxing and others care about. Chinxing was not in the hotel at this time. AC and the other four came to a place under the leadership of Chinxing, the easternmost wall of the 18th floor. Chinxing, why did you bring us here? Tioni looked at the wall in front of him and asked in confusion. The other people also looked over in confusion. Just now, when we were fighting with the attackers, my detection magic felt that there were adventurers coming here and entering here. So I came to take a look. There seems to be an unknown secret passage here. Morningstar reached out and touched the wall, then explained. Morningstar was not joking. When he was using the light vein just now, he did find someone walking this way. But Morningstar did not find out where those people went. However, Morningstar knew that the entrance to the 18th floor of the artificial Maze Gnosis was in the east. Since AIC and others have already had contact with the fallen fairy and the weirdo, then tell AIC and others about the entrance here. Is that so? Several people were a little surprised when they heard it. Yeah, Morningstar nodded slightly. Then the long sword at his waist was quickly unsheathed, and in the blink of an eye, a cross was cut. The sound of metal colliding came from the wall when the slash fell. Hearing this sound, AIC and the other four were stunned. At this time, they all heard the sound of metal colliding. This means that there is metal behind this wall. As Morningstar finished slashing, the next second, the wall began to collapse, revealing the metal wall behind the wall. Behind the wall is a huge iron door, which is covered with unknown rune patterns. This is, looking at the iron door that appeared in front of them, AIC and others' pupils shrank. This is not generated by the dungeon itself. Someone dug it here and built a mechanism. We must tell Finn and the others about what happened here. Tiona looked at the door forged from mountain copper in front of her and frowned rarely. Too many things happened today. Let's just go back. Report what happened today as soon as possible. Tioni pinched her eyebrows and said tiredly, "Yeah, I agree." Lafia nodded. "Yeah, let's do it this way." Even AC had no objection. But Chinxing was slightly stunned after hearing what AC said, because Chinxing remembered that in the original book, AC was going to stay in the lower level to fight after the attack and defense of Rivera. Why did she choose to return now? Is it because she killed Revis that AIC didn't sound as low as in the original book, even when she heard the name Arya from Revis? If so, wouldn't it delay AIC's upgrade? You know, in the original book, AIC upgraded after she challenged Judeos. But now AIC is not going to stay in the dungeon any longer, so it's impossible for her to challenge Judeos, and it's impossible for her to upgrade. Although he was suspicious, Chun Xing didn't say anything. Chun Xing, Let's go back together. At this time, seeing that Chun Xing didn't speak, Dion invited Chun Xing to go back together. That's fine. Hearing this, Chun Xing nodded and agreed. Originally, Chun Xing was thinking about staying in the dungeon for another day and then going back to participate in the God's Assembly. But since Dion invited him, let's go back together. The group didn't stay on the 18th floor any longer and set off directly to the ground. For Chun Xing and others, it's okay not to rest for a few days. However, it is best to maintain a stable resting habit in the underground city and keep the peak state as much as possible, because only in this way can we not give the underground city any chance to take advantage of. But if it is the return journey, then it is unnecessary. With the strength of Chun Xing and others, it only took a few hours to return to the ground from the 18th floor. It was late at night when Chun Xing and others returned to the ground. Then let's separate here, on the dark street. At a fork in the road, Chun Xing and AC and others parted. See you tomorrow. AC and others waved to Chun Xing, and Dion said with a smile, well, see you tomorrow. Chun Xing nodded, and then both sides turned around and walked towards their respective clan residences. As for why it is said to see you tomorrow, it is because Chun Xing and AC and others have made an appointment to continue the competition tomorrow. When Chun Xing returned to the library, Hestia had already fallen asleep. Chun Xing did not disturb Hestia, and Hestia did not sleep in Chun Xing's room. After returning to his room, Chun Xing simply washed up, then sat back on the bed and began to update his grace. Chun Xing IV .2 Strength, D598B 728 Durability, D578B 729 Dexterity, D539B 708 Agility, D587B 739 Magic, H102G2 86 Upgrade, Optional Development Ability, Berserker, Sword King Development Ability, Magic on Magic Thought Body Son of Light Son of Darkness Skills Reincarnation I Blessing of the God of War. You all think that there's only one skill left with one space, so I will delete it. There is no limit to skills, only magic. Sure enough, fierce battles are the simplest and crudest way to improve ability values. Looking at the 4 ability values that jumped 2 levels at once except for magic, Chun Xing was very satisfied. After all, he had experienced several battles in the lower layer today. With his talent, it is normal to have such a big improvement. Then, Chun Xing looked at the changes in the grace below the ability value. Have you accumulated enough great deeds? Yes, I was originally only IV .2. This time, I killed so many monsters far beyond my level in the lower level, and several of them were monster feasts like before. On the 18th floor, I also killed a LV5 Fallen Fairy clone. Even if I worked together with Dion to deal with it, it would be a huge amount of 4.7 great deeds for me. However, I will still upgrade and keep it until I reach the limit. After burning the grace paper, Morningstar prepared to do what he had decided before but had not done yet. That was to continue to curse Dionysus. P.S. I guess some people will pick curse magic. I will answer here that curse magic can work on gods who have sealed their divine power, but no one dares to do so even with curse magic. After all, they are gods and are prone to backlash. But Morningstar is in a special situation and will not be backlashed. If he attacks adventurers, adventurers are not like sealed gods. Strong adventurers can resist a little or two, depending on their strength. However, before Morningstar started action, the system prompt sounded in Chun Xing's mind. Ding! You have a new drift bottle. Please check it. Chun Xing, system, check open. Ding! The drift bottle has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Vongalasura Equipment Box. Vongalasura Equipment Box contains Vongalasura Ring, the original version, the handsome one, X-Glove Vongala version, Death Power, Vongala Box. A Vongala? Looking at the box in the system space, Chun Xing slowly typed a question mark. Chapter 82. Vongala Set Meal Vongala? Tutor, Chun Xing muttered to himself, took out the box, and opened it. With a flash of white light, the box in Chun Xing's hand turned into several items. Vongala Ring, Vongala Large Empty Box, Vongala Gloves. An array of light sank into Chun Xing's forehead. The moment the light sank into Chun Xing's forehead, Chun Xing understood what this ray of light was. This ray of light was a seed of death energy. After merging with Qinxing, Qinxing could use the power of death energy. With a slight thought, a deep orange flame appeared on Qinxing's forehead, and at the same time, Qinxing's pupils turned golden red. In an instant, Qinxing felt that his physique had been strengthened a lot. The Super Death Energy mode can really enhance strength. Although it is not as good as the increase in my physique brought by the Reincarnation I mode, it is not bad about half. I don't know if the two can be superimposed. Let's try it later. Feeling the changes in his body, Qinxing muttered in his heart. Then, Qinxing thought of something and quickly ran to the floor-length mirror not far away. Sure enough, whether in the last life or this life, the pupils in the Super Death mode are really handsome. Standing in front of the floor-length mirror, looking at himself in the mirror, looking at the deep orange flame flashing on his forehead and the pupils that changed because of the Super Death mode, Qinxing murmured in his heart, and a smile unconsciously rose at the corner of his mouth. Personally, I think the pupils in the Super Death mode are really masterful. Immediately, Qinxing's eyes looked at the ring in his hand. The Vongala ring in Qinxing's hand is the appearance of the Vongala ring when it first appeared in the family tutor, not the appearance of the future because of the first generation of Vongala. It is very handsome. Qin 26 Star did not hesitate and put the Vongala ring on his hand directly. I remember that if you want to awaken the death flame of the ring, you need to be enlightened. What is my enlightenment? Looking at the ring on his swollen finger, Qinxing murmured in his heart. Just when Qinxing was thinking about how to awaken the death flame of the ring, a deep orange flame suddenly appeared in the ring in his hand. In an instant, Qinxing seemed to understand something. It seems that he has had enlightenment since the moment he became an adventurer. The first enlightenment was to become stronger, and recently, with the increase of friends, I have another kind of enlightenment, that is, to protect Hestia, to protect the people around me. As this thought fell, the power in Qinxing's hand suddenly burst into a stronger flame. The erupting flames soared into the sky, about 1 person high. Seeing this scene, Qinxing quickly controlled his thoughts. The flames gradually weakened and hovered around the ring. The finger edge did not explode again. However, Qinxing could feel that when the flames exploded, his physique was strengthened again. It was completely comparable to the physique that was enhanced when entering the Samsara mode. No wonder Sawada Tsuneyoshi, a useless junior high school student, could fight Xanxus after entering the Super Death Key mode and then fought with Bailan, who was hanging on the wall after igniting the Death Key flame and mastering the Death Key flame. I just ignited the Death Key flame on the ring, and I already have such an enhancement. When my Death Key flame is stronger, won't I be able to get a stronger enhancement? Moreover, the power of the Death Key flame is also very powerful. It would be great if the Samsara mode and the Super Death Key mode could be combined. Inexplicably, Qinxing's mind this thought came to mind again. If the two modes can be combined, with Morningstar's current situation, although his close combat strength may not reach V.6 stretch, he can definitely stand at the strongest position of TV.5. Thinking of this, Morningstar couldn't wait to see the last Vongala box. With a thought, Morningstar entered the Samsara mode. After entering the Samsara mode, Morningstar was shocked to find that his guess was right. The increase in the Super Death Key mode and the Samsara mode can actually be superimposed. At this time, Morningstar's body was covered with a deep blue light, with a deep orange flame flickering on his forehead, and his eyes were still the eyes of the Samsara eye. But Morningstar could feel that as long as he wanted, he could turn his eyes into the golden red pupils of the Super Death Key mode at any time. But in that case, Morningstar's appearance would be a little weird. After all, it was originally a seamless azure blue, and suddenly 2 golden red colors appeared. It would be strange if it wasn't strange. But Qinxing didn't care about these. What Qinxing cared about more now was the improvement of his strength under the superposition of the two modes. He was only in the Super Death mode now, and the death on the ring had not erupted. Qinxing moved his mind again, and the flame on his finger suddenly erupted. However, because of the previous experience, Qinxing controlled the release of the flame when it erupted. Although the power erupted, it did not cause the situation just now. The flame was firmly controlled, by chinching around his fingers, flickering continuously. In an instant, Chinching felt that his strength had improved a lot. Although he could not determine the specific level, Chinching was sure that his mode was also the best in LV5. With his own strong strength, he could definitely dominate the level of V.5. Then, Chinching remembered something and put on the Vongala gloves. The gloves changed dramatically the moment they were put on. Originally just an ordinary adventure glove, it burst into a fierce light after being put on and turned directly into a pair of very metallic gloves with distinct finger bones, which fit Chinching's palms and fingers perfectly. There was a pattern of the Vongala Grand Sky ring on the back of the glove, and the Vongala ring appeared outside the glove. At the same time, a lot of information emerged in Chinching's mind. That was the use of the Vongala gloves. No, it should be said that it was a trick created by the protagonist of the tutor, Sawada Tsuneyoshi, and Chinching mastered it all at once. Feeling the tricks he had mastered, Morningstar was not surprised. Wasn't it the same when he got the Samsara Eye before? In the Samsara Eye mode, in addition to the basic ability of the Samsara Eye, the two ultimate moves were developed by the person who had the Samsara Eye. As for whether it was created by Otsutsuki Himura or later by Otsutsuki Tonari, it is unknown. After he got the Samsara Eye and merged it, he naturally mastered the two ultimate moves. And now that he has obtained the Vongala gloves, it is not surprising that he will get the ultimate move of the original owner of the Vongala gloves, Sawada Tsuneyoshi. 0-point breakthrough modified. 0-point breakthrough modified barehanded blade grabbing. 0-point breakthrough, first generation version absolute 0. Soft flame, hard flame, Zburner, Zburnerer, no auxiliary characteristic invisible mirror required, and so on, as long as the original owner Morningstar directly obtained all the moves that Tsuneyoshi Kadazada mastered using the Vongala gloves. After feeling these moves, Morningstar took a deep breath and then looked at the orange box in his hand, which looked full of childishness. Perhaps because Morningstar was looking at the box, the creature inside the box seemed to feel something and the box kept shaking. Natsu. It feels a bit strange. After all, the protagonist of Fairy Tail is also Natsu, but he turned into a little lion when he came to the tutor. Complaining is complaining, but Morningstar did not hesitate and directly ignited the flame of the Great Sky Ring and then printed the ring on the opening above the box. As the ring was unlocked, the box burst into a fierce light, and a stream of light rushed out from it, circling around Morningstar and landing on Morningstar's shoulder. At this time, Chinching just saw the box weapon on his shoulder, which was exactly the same as the Sky Lion Natsu he saw in his previous life. It was small in size, with a white metal hat on his head and a mane of dead flames wrapped around his neck. Very cute. Oh, when he looked at Natsu, Natsu roared at Chinching. Chinching heard 733 coming out. At this time, Natsu greeted him, as if to say that he would take good care of him in the future. He was not timid at all in the original book. However, think about it. The reason why he was timid in the original book seemed to be influenced by the protagonist Sawada Tsuneyoshi. And he was not as useless as Sawada Tsuneyoshi showed on the surface. Natsu swallowed the dead flames he injected and naturally looked more like himself. And Natsu's voice sounded like a roar, but the sound was not loud, but it seemed very cute. So Chinching couldn't help but hug him down. In fact, Chinching did exactly that. He took little Natsu into his arms and started petting him like a cat. Well, very good. After petting him for a while, Chinching stopped because Natsu fell asleep after being petted so comfortably. Chinching sent him back to the box. After sending Natsu back to the box, Chinching was able to sort out Natsu's abilities. After Natsu appeared, Chinching learned how to use Natsu just like he had learned the Vongala gloves. Two of them were related to the Vongala gloves. As for why the Vongala gloves and the Vongala box have corresponding abilities, but the Vongala ring does not, Chinching was not surprised at all. Because this world is not the world of the tutor, the true power of the Vongala ring, the power of the miracle of the vertical space-time axis, cannot affect this world. That's why it is not the same as the Vongala gloves and the box. After putting the Vongala gloves and the box into the system space, Chinching started to work. Just now, because I got a new drift bottle, I was delayed. Now it's time to curse Dionysus. As soon as he said it, a black flame appeared in Chinching's hand, and he directly launched the curse. On the other side, Dionysus, who was already in a deep sleep, suddenly woke up, sat up from the bed, and stared blankly at the blood on his face. I was cursed again. Chapter 83 Report. The upcoming assembly of gods the next morning. Hestia woke up from her sleep. After washing up in the bathroom of her room, Hestia walked out of the room. When passing by Morningstar's room, Hestia was slightly stunned. Because Morningstar had been in the dungeon these days, the door of the room was not closed, but it was closed early this morning. What does this mean? This means that Morningstar is back. Without any hesitation, Hestia opened the door directly and then ran to the big bed in the middle of the room. Looking at Morningstar lying on the bed, who was in a dream, Hestia rushed over without hesitation. Morningstar! Puff! Morningstar, who was sleeping, only felt that he was hit by a violent impact alone, which woke him up directly. After seeing Hestia throwing herself on his stomach, Morningstar's face softened instantly, and he reached out and rubbed Hestia's hair. "I'm back, Hestia." "Yeah, welcome back." Hestia, whose hair was being touched, nodded repeatedly like a little pet. "Hey, Morningstar, has your adventure been going well these days?" At the table, Hestia was eating the delicious breakfast made by Morningstar while caring about Farmer Star's adventure. "Yeah, it was pretty good. I went to the water mystery, and I was lucky. I got a lot of collection materials. I also met AIC and the others." Morningstar answered while eating. "Hey, yeah, I met Warren and the others." Hestia was a little surprised, and then Hestia warned Morningstar. "Morningstar, I know you are a young man with vigorous blood and can't resist temptation, but you must resist temptation and can't give Warren and the others a chance to take advantage of you. I think I have strong self-control, so it should be fine." Hearing what Hestia said, Morningstar was a little surprised, and then answered very seriously. "Chun flirts with me every time they meet alone, but I haven't responded. It's good that you know." Hestia nodded with satisfaction. Immediately, Hestia seemed a little worried. "Morningstar, even if you really can't stand the temptation, you must tell me as soon as possible." "Morningstar, so you still don't believe me?" While Morningstar and Hestia were having breakfast at the same time, some things were happening in other places in Oreo. Two of them were related to Morningstar, and one was related to Hestia's family, Belle. Belle seemed to be targeted by Freya. Freya couldn't deal with Morningstar for the time being, but she discovered Belle's existence when she looked down at the ground from the highest floor of Babel Tower, noticed Belle's pure light. Thinking that she had nothing to do, she used Belle to kill time. Morningstar cannot be taken for the time being, but it does not prevent her from recruiting other adventurers who catch her eye. "So, Miss Belle, please accept this lunchbox. On the other hand, please take care of the tavern, Miss Belle." At the door of the Finu Hostess Tavern, Sierra handed a lunchbox to Belle and said with a smile. The shy and introverted Belle did not know how to refuse and took it stupidly. "That's it, Miss Belle, I'm going to be busy. Please take care of the Finu Hostess Tavern." After Belle took the lunchbox, Sierra was ready to escape. She waved her hand to remind Belle and then entered the tavern, leaving Belle standing there in a daze. It was the first time that someone sent her a lunchbox, and she just took it in a daze. After coming to her senses, Sierra wanted to not take the lunchbox back, but for some reason, this idea disappeared at once. "Forget it. I'll repay Miss Shear later." With this in mind, Belle ran towards the direction of the Tower of Babel. On the other side, in the Hermes family's residence. "You mean, the Morningstar of the Lucifer family is very powerful? You are facing an LV5 female adventurer who is severely injured by him using a wind magic?" Hermes frowned and looked at Lullian, confirming with disbelief on his face. "It is incredible that the 1,000 fairies of the Loki family have the magic firepower of IV.5 with the body of IV.3. As a result, there is now another existence that is more terrifying than Lafia in terms of magic talent. IV.2 has the magic firepower of IV.5, spanning 3 levels. If the level strength is not considered, Morningstar is more terrifying than Althea. I didn't expect that I would meet such a monstrous adventurer rising star when I came back after not coming back for a few months. Originally, my purpose was to focus on Belle, and I asked the members of the clan to focus on Morningstar because Morningstar broke the upgrade record, but I didn't expect that he actually had such a terrible talent. The next second, Hermes seemed to have thought of something. The Guild and Uranus must have noticed the situation of Morningstar, but they just didn't see the announcement. It seems that I have to talk to Uranus when I have time. Maybe Morningstar can be the second candidate. Well, it's not just this. Lord Hermes, there's another very important thing. Lulia nodded repeatedly and then mentioned another thing. What is it? Hearing that there was something as important as the information from Morningstar, Hermes was stunned. What? Two pieces of heavyweight information came at once. Are you so lucky? Yes. Lord Hermes, after the Sword Princess of Loki's family killed the female adventurer, a piece of abnormal magic stone fell from the female adventurer's body. Lulia nodded in response and then told what she saw. Although the distance was far, when Revis was killed, she still saw the magic stone destroyed in Revis' body. This incident scared her a lot, and she ran back at night. But Hermes was sleeping, so she didn't. Instead of disturbing Hermes, he waited until the morning to find Hermes and report the two things to Hermes. Hermes. On the other side, in the Twilight Pavilion, AC and the other four were also reporting what they encountered on the 18th floor. At this time in Finn's office, the three giants of the Loki clan, AC and the other four were all here. As for the others, they were not there. Bert didn't know where he went, and Loki went out, as if to prepare something. Not here. Brother Morningstar is really incredible. He actually showed such a powerful force. From 4.2 to 4.5, this has already crossed 3 levels. In the office, after listening to the reports of several people, Finn was full of emotion. Morningstar really refreshed his understanding of adventurers again and again. He didn't expect that adventurers could actually cross so many levels. However, this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is the female adventurer with a magic stone in her body. Well, let's call her a weirdo. A person actually has a magic stone in his body. It seems that he should not be a god's clan. It is impossible for such a thing to exist in the body of a god's family. The god will definitely find out. Besides, that weirdo asked AC to go to the 59th floor. There must be something incredible hidden there. Lavilia followed up. Well, indeed, it seems that the next expedition will be a bit troublesome. The most important thing is what that guy said. Arya, this is really incredible. Grace continued, looking very serious. As soon as this happened, Finn and Lavilia's expressions became very serious. The three of them knew what the name Arya meant. It was 1,000 years ago, the Great Wind Fairy with the mercenary King Albert, and almost no one knows it now. Now that the red-haired weirdo has identified Ace as Arya, which means that the enemy in the dark knows the existence of Arya, and even has a very deep understanding, and it may even be related to 1,000 years ago, which greatly increases the seriousness of the matter. Arnold, what is going on with Arya? Listening to the words of the three, Tiona raised her hand and expressed her doubts. Tioni and Lafia were also very curious. Don't ask about this matter, don't talk about it. Finn smiled and shook his head and replied obscurely. Arya's affairs can be kept secret or not, and they are quite involved, just like now, a person related to Arya suddenly appeared. If they could really say anything, the three of them wouldn't have kept it secret all these years. Oh, hearing Finn's answer, Diana was very obedient and didn't ask any more questions. Then we'll leave if there's nothing wrong. After hearing Finn's answer, Guyane said. To be honest, she didn't want to stay with Finn now, and she felt a little uncomfortable. Finn, we'll leave first. AC also said, Captain, Lady Lavilia, Mr. Grace, we'll leave first. Lafia also politely said goodbye. Is there something urgent? Seeing that AC and Lafia both looked like they were in a hurry to leave, Lavilia was a little surprised. Ah, didn't we fight that weirdo? Lou has learned everything he learned from Brother Morningstar. So I'm going to fight with Brother Morningstar again, delicious. And I made an appointment when I came back last night. I guess Brother Morningstar is almost here. Diana explained with a smile. Oh, really? In that case, I'll have to go and take a look. Hearing this, Lavilia's eyes suddenly lit up. She had heard about Morningstar many times, but she had never seen Morningstar once. She was not there when Morningstar came last time. This time she must take a good look. Then I'll go and take a look. Finn also said with a smile. I'll go with you. Brother Morningstar hasn't come yet. We're just going to prepare. Hearing that Lavilia was going to go with him, Diana scratched the back of her head and said, Okay, when that compatriot comes over, let someone notify me and I'll go and take a look. Lavilia nodded after hearing this, and then instructed. Understood. Power. Then Ace and the other 4 left the office, leaving only Finn and the other 3 in the office. Speaking of which, what on earth did Loki do? After calming down, Finn looked at Lavilia and Grace and said with some confusion, Sa, I heard that he went to prepare for the gods' assembly tonight. Lavilia and Grace looked at each other. Grace shook her head, and Lavilia told what she knew. The gods' assembly? I hope Loki can succeed. I hope Loki can succeed more and more now. So do I. Me too. Chapter 84. The conquered Loki family, not long after AC and the others left the office, Morningstar came to visit. Hey, Brother Morningstar, you are here. In the corridor, Diana excitedly waved and greeted Morningstar, who was brought here by the family members. Welcome, Morningstar, Dion said with a smile, with her hands behind her back. Mr. Morningstar, good morning. Lafia still looked shy, and she was a little flustered when she spoke. Morningstar. AC nodded slightly. Morning. Morningstar nodded slightly in response. Then the group rushed directly to the direction of the training ground. Blue, please inform Livia and the others that we asked them to come here. Before leaving, Diana did not forget to ask the family companions who led Morningstar. Understood. The member who led the way nodded and agreed. Thank you. The group soon arrived at the training ground. Because they knew that Chinching was coming, Diana and others reserved the training ground early in the morning. Before Chinching and others entered the training ground, there was no one in the entire training ground. Come on, Chinching, let's start now. As soon as they entered the training ground, Dion threw 2 kukri over, shouted excitedly, and rushed towards Chinching the next moment. Morningstar, W, Diana, W's, W, Lefia, Y. Looking at what Dion did, the 4 people of Morningstar reacted in an unprecedentedly unified manner. However, Morningstar did not refuse. After catching the kukri, he directly faced Dion, who was attacking directly, and started fighting directly. Seeing this, AIC and the other 2 quickly retreated and gave the field to the 2. This guy Dion seemed to know that Morningstar's strength had become stronger again. After just a few moves, he directly improved his strength. 820 the battle a few days ago was only using the IV.4 limit S strength, and now directly use IV.5. Seeing this, Chinching also quickly turned on the Samsara mode. With the increase of Chinching's grace ability value, Chinching's physique became stronger, and the increase of the Samsara mode also became stronger. After entering the Samsara mode, Chinching's strength became much stronger, and it was infinitely close to LV5. If you want to say, it is the same as Rue Wacy's situation, and he may step into the realm of IV.5 at any time. Although Chinching's ability value has increased a lot, it is only IV.2 after all, and it cannot be compared with the strength change brought by the ability value increase of high-level adventurers. Of course, it is an elite IV.5 like AC. If it is the kind of random upgrade, Chinching can beat it with his current strength. However, who can upgrade to 4.5 will upgrade directly after the minimum upgrade conditions are met. It is almost impossible to have such a first-level adventurer. Morningstar's strength has become stronger again, and the speed of improvement is really fast. Looking at the battle on the battlefield, Diana couldn't help but sigh. She could see that Morningstar's current strength was much stronger than a few days ago. Well, it's incredible. AIC nodded and agreed. Their strength has also improved in the past few days, but that's because they have mastered more powerful fighting skills, so their strength has improved. In the world of adventurers, grace abilities and fighting skills complement each other. The combination of powerful grace values and powerful fighting skills can exert more powerful power. Otherwise, they would not be so excited after seeing Morningstar's powerful fighting skills, and would want to pursue this powerful fighting skill. Their strength improvement is due to KDA fighting skills, and the strength improvement shown by Farmer Star today is purely in terms of grace values. AC was very sure that Chenxing's grace ability value had definitely increased by more than a few hundred in the past few days. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to have such a strong improvement. AC was very curious about how Chenxing did it, but it was just curiosity. With her current relationship with Chenxing, she would not ask Chenxing such a question. How can I improve my relationship with Chenxing? Looking at the battle on the field, AC murmured in her heart. She admitted that she was a little greedy. It was not enough to learn such powerful fighting skills from Chenxing. She also wanted to get a method to quickly improve grace from Kangxing. But she really couldn't suppress her desire to become stronger. If she could get this method to become stronger, she would be willing to pay as long as she could. Great, Mr. Chenxing. As a magician, Lafia didn't have the eyesight of Diana and AC, but she could vaguely feel that Morningstar's strength had become stronger. At this moment, her eyes were shining with admiration. At this moment, Diana discovered something and shouted in surprise. Is there fire on Brother Morningstar's forehead? AC and Lafia on the side also looked surprised, because just now, they witnessed with their own eyes that a deep orange flame suddenly appeared on Morningstar's forehead. However, the next second, Diana and AC found something wrong. No, after the flame appeared, Brother Morningstar's strength has become stronger again. Diana exclaimed, unable to hold back her surprise. Morningstar's power has completely reached the level of IV.5. AIC murmured in a low voice. It should be a new skill. At this time, a voice came from behind them. The three turned their heads and found that because they were too focused on the battle, they didn't notice that Finn and the other two had come here. It was Finn who spoke just now. At this time, the three were walking towards this side. Hey, Captain Lavilia, Uncle Grace. Diana waved and greeted. Captain, Lady Lavilia, Mr. Grace. Lafia followed closely. As for Icy just nodded lightly. It's incredible that someone actually has such superb fighting skills. This fighting skill is enough to erase the difference of thousands of grace values. Grace nodded, staring at the battle on the field, and sighed in his heart. As a LV6 adventurer, and with decades more experience than AIC and others, Grace's vision is undoubtedly much better than AIC and others. He saw a deeper level than AIC and others. The fighting skills displayed by Chenxing can almost be called flawless. At least, he dare not compare his fighting skills with Chenxing. Grace felt that even the warrior who practiced martial arts to the extreme, the fierce Oda, could not compare with Chenxing in this regard. Indeed, at the beginning, Brother Chenxing only had powerful fighting skills. But now it seems that Brother Chenxing has gained enough combat experience and has integrated the two together. This integration has brought Brother Chenxing's fighting skills to a higher level. Finn nodded in agreement, with unconcealed admiration in his eyes. This was the first time in decades that he had encountered such a formidable rising star. No, with Morningstar's current situation, it is estimated that in a month or two, he will be able to stand on the same level as them. Finn overturned his previous speculation and reduced the number of months in which Morningstar could stand on the same level as himself and others. Of course, he was talking about the IV.6 field where he and Grace were. As for LV5, didn't you see that Morningstar can now fight with Dion, who is fighting at full strength? Now Morningstar is already a real IV.5 combat force. Incredible. I originally thought that only the magic firepower reached the first level, but I didn't expect that the close combat strength has also reached it. Lavilia couldn't help but sigh at this time. I can't find any other adjectives to describe Brother Morningstar. I can only use incredible to describe it. It is completely unimaginable and incomprehensible. Finn nodded and agreed. Morningstar's situation has completely exceeded his imagination. For the current situation of Morningstar, he wanted to predict the future of Morningstar, but his mind was blank. He could not imagine any situation related to Morningstar. At most, he could predict the speed of Morningstar's strengthening. Moreover, this is still inaccurate. Maybe during the time he predicted, something incredible happened to Morningstar, which made Morning Star's strength increase faster again. Listening to the conversation between the three giants, AIC and others were not surprised at all, and even felt that the three people's evaluation of Morningstar was very correct. What happened to Morningstar was so incredible that even if something incredible happened to Morningstar again, they would not be shocked again. Deanna said that just now was the last time she was shocked by the changes in Morningstar, and she would never be shocked again. Even if Morningstar showed the strength of LV6 next, he would not be shocked again. I am a little itchy, and I will ask if I can have a fight later. After coming here, Grace's eyes stayed on the battle on the field, not moving away for a second. The more he watched the battle between Morningstar and Tioni, the more excited he became. He wanted to go down and fight with Morningstar. Being able to fight with someone with such perfect fighting skills must be very beneficial to him. With his current position and current strength, it is difficult for anyone to help him. If there is anyone, it is that guy Oda. But fighting with Oda is simply impossible unless the Loki family and the Freya family go to war. But now, there is such a person in front of him. Even if he needs to pay some rewards, he also wants to fight with Morningstar. Me too. Ask later. I'm sure Brother Morningstar won't refuse. Finn nodded in agreement. When Morningstar came before, he was not in the family, and he really missed a great opportunity. This time can't be missed, seeing that you're so interested. I will also find Morningstar to exchange magic later. Looking at the two companions who were so interested, Lavilia thought for a moment and spoke. To be honest, when Lafia said that Morningstar had IV.5 magic firepower, she was interested in Morningstar. Otherwise, she would not have asked Deanna to call her when Morningstar came. Even if Grace and Finn did not say this, she wanted to exchange magic with Morningstar after the fight with AIC and others. It can be said that at this moment, the top leaders of the Loki family were completely conquered by everything that Morningstar showed. Chapter 85. Bug, Dion's shocking words, Lavilia's appreciation. Chinching didn't know what Finn and the others were talking about. Chinching was very excited at this time, because after the Samsara Eye mode and the Super Death Key mode were turned on together, his strength was the same as he guessed last night. With the two modes combined, Chinching's strength was not much worse than that of Tioni. If he ignited the Death Key flame, it would definitely be stronger than Tioni's current strength. Coupled with Chinching's powerful fighting skills, even if he met Revis, Chinching would be sure to take him down alone. This is the strength brought by powerful fighting skills. As Grace said, Chinching's powerful fighting skills are enough to allow Chinching to cross the ability value gap of 1 or 2,000 or even 3 or 4,000. In the novel, when AC and others met Oda during the expedition again, AC mentioned when fighting with Oda that powerful fighting skills can make up for the gap in these ability values. Chinching's current fighting skills are not worse than Oda, but I don't understand it. Does Oda need to make up for the ability value gap when fighting with AC? I'm a little confused. However, when fighting with Tioni, Chinching did not ignite the Death Key flame. The current battle between Morningstar and Tioni has completely turned into a coaching battle. If the Death Flame is ignited, it will be a pure, crushing game. The owner of the Grace improves his strength by fighting fiercely with adventurers and monsters of equal strength. And here in Morningstar, there are 3 kinds of adventurers and monsters of equal strength. The first kind is adventurers and monsters of equal strength to Morningstar in normal state. And the second kind is adventurers and monsters of equal strength to Morningstar after the Reincarnation Eye mode is activated and the Reincarnation Eye mode is amplified. As for the third kind, that is the current Morningstar with the Reincarnation Eye mode, Super Death mode, and the Death Flame ignited superimposed. When fighting with adventurers like Tioni, the 3 modes, the Reincarnation Eye mode and Super Death mode in the third one are activated together, and the Death Flame is not ignited. That is to say, Morningstar can play like this and can freely choose the training object and the battle object when improving the Grace, because Morningstar has a skill that can greatly increase its own strength. If it were any other way, there would be no choice at all. However, fighting adventurers and monsters far beyond their normal state with the amplification skill would improve the adventurer more than any other situation. A few days ago, Chinching gained an example after fighting with AC and others in the Samsara Eye mode. Speaking of which, AC's Wind Spirit Sprint is also a skill that increases strength, like the two modes of Qinqing. AC should have done this before. In the original work, AC challenged Udios with the Wind Spirit Sprint and won the duel. After that, the bottleneck that had been in the bottleneck period was broken, and the great deeds were accumulated, and she was directly upgraded. This is Qinqing's current situation. Use the amplification skill to increase your strength to a level far beyond your own strength, and then fight with adventurers who are better than you in the normal state to improve your grace ability. However, if it is a crushing game, it will not have a very good training effect. The two modes of Morningstar combined together make its strength equal to that of Tioni, which is just right for fighting. However, if the flame of death is ignited, then Morningstar, with its strength further increased, will crush Tioni. This would be counterproductive, and it would be impossible to get effective training at all. Morningstar came to fight with AIC and others this time, just to use this principle to improve the value of grace through fierce fighting. If he crushed them directly, what's the point? He couldn't get any exercise at all. In that case, he might as well not come. Morningstar's approach is a bit like a bug in the grace. In addition, the superposition of the two modes is already very stamina-consuming, and igniting the flame of death consumes even more stamina. Next, he will fight with AIC and others. Morningstar doesn't want to use up all his energy before fighting with AIC and others. It would be embarrassing to become a weak shrimp by then. However, cool, Morningstar, keep pleasing me. Looking at Dion, who was in the violent mode, Morningstar was a little speechless, but he still followed Dion's request and exerted the most powerful power of this mode. The battle between the two was very fierce, and the sound of the collision was deafening, constantly echoing in the training ground. If this was not a training ground with strong sound insulation, it would have spread outside and spread throughout the dusk hall. Feeling the slight heat coming from the grace behind him, Qinqing raised a barely detectable arc at the corner of his mouth. Grace, it's improving. Qinqing was very happy about his growing strength. Although he could possess Xiao Wang at any time and increase his strength to IV.6, it was a possession after all, not Qinqing's own power, and Xiao Wang was used to protect Hestia, so he would not summon it casually. It seems that I have to come here every week to repair it in the future. Outside the battlefield, looking at the broken floor caused by the battle between the two, Lavilia said lightly, "Ah, it seems so. I guess the people of the Dingubernui clan will come to overhaul it in the evening." Finn smiled awkwardly and said, "It's just the first battle now, and it has caused such damage to the training ground. There are several more battles to come, and he and Grace are also preparing to go down. It is estimated that the damage caused by the fight will definitely not be more than the damage caused by the battle between Kongxing and AC and others. Tioni is going berserk again." Tiona, who was standing by, said with a smile as she watched the changes on the battlefield. Indeed, Tioni on the battlefield was indeed going berserk and entered a violent state. Tioni seems to be gradually returning to her nature. Looking at Tioni on the battlefield, Lavilia suddenly said. As soon as these words came out, a trace of embarrassment flashed across Finn's face. Tioni's personality was originally very irritable and easy to get angry, but she had been suppressing this personality because she wanted to pursue him. But since she confessed to him and was rejected by him, Tioni seemed to have gradually returned to her nature. It's good to return to her nature, but it's not a good thing for her to keep suppressing her personality. After the embarrassment, Finn said with a faint smile, "I hope you don't regret it." Lavilia glanced at Finn and said lightly. Finn smiled and didn't answer. The battle between Qinqing and Tioni was quick and ended in about half an hour. It's so refreshing. Just like before, the two of them lay on the ground at 90 degrees, and Tioni shouted with joy on her face. "Ah, indeed." Qinqing smiled and responded. Hearing Qinqing's words, Tioni suddenly turned her head and looked at Qinqing, her eyes slightly hot. Qinqing felt this heat, and Qinqing looked over unconsciously and met Tioni's hot eyes and was directly shocked. What? The startled Qinqing asked. Qinqing, ugh." Hearing this answer, a question mark slowly appeared on Qinqing's head. However, the next moment, Tioni laughed out loud, and Qinqing seemed to react to what Tioni's answer was. The corner of his eye twitched slightly, and Morningstar complained in his heart. Estia, your worry seems to be right. In addition to Tsubaki, I have been targeted by another woman, and she is an aggressive Amazon. Morningstar rested for a while, then looked at Diana and others, looked at Finn and the other two, nodded, and greeted them, then looked at Diana and Ace. Please give me flowers 01441 1126 Fulu 1321 41451. Although Morningstar did not speak, Ace and Diana both knew what was in Morningstar's eyes. Ace was the first to stand up and walk towards Morningstar with two weapons that had been prepared long ago, passing by Dion, who was walking over. Come on. Dion looked at Ace sideways and encouraged with a smile. Yeah. Ace nodded in response, and then continued to move forward. Soon, the battle between Morningstar and Ace began. Then, an hour later, the battle with Diana also came as scheduled. After fighting with the three people, Chinching did not immediately fulfill the agreement with Lafia, but looked at Finn and Grace. These two guys, since they came here, looked at him with very fiery eyes. Chinching was very sure that both Finn and Grace wanted to fight with him. Qingxin also wanted to fight with Grace and Finn, and he must be able to get more powerful gains than fighting with Ace and others. How about it, Finn, Mr. Grace? Do you want to fight? Looking at the two, Qingxin took the initiative to invite. Please teach me. Finn was the first to stand up and said with a smile. Grace, obviously, I came here first. Soon, Qingxin and Finn stood in the field. Looking at Qingxin holding a spear in his hand, Finn was slightly surprised. Although I've heard from AC and the others before that you seem to be able to use various weapons skillfully, now it seems that this is not false. As long as it is a weapon, I have dabbled in it. Morningstar smiled and said the next second. Morningstar directly entered the duel mode and ignited the flame of death. Seeing Morningstar's appearance and the ring flashing with flames on Morningstar's finger, Finn's eyes were slightly suspicious. It seems that I need to go all out to express this fighting spirit. Please be merciful. Hearing Finn's words, Morningstar's eyes twitched and rolled his eyes speechlessly. This won't work. Morningstar. Oh, I didn't expect that your strength is so strong, Morningstar. I just don't know how good your magic attainments are. In the corridor, Lavilia said to Morningstar with a smile, and beside her were Morningstar and Lafia. As for the rest of the people, they were still in the training ground, confirming the skills they had just learned from Morningstar. I can boast about my fighting skills, but I'm really not that good at magic. Please take care of me, Lavilia. Qingxin smiled and said modestly, You are really different. Seeing Qingxin's very calm reaction, Lavilia also smiled faintly and chuckled. What's different? Qingxin was a little confused. Your attitude towards me is different from that of other compatriots. I like it, Lavilia explained with a smile. Lafia, who was silent on the side, nodded repeatedly, agreeing with Lavilia's words. It was the first time she saw a compatriot who could talk to Lavilia so calmly when they met for the first time. You have to know that Lavilia in front of you is a member of the royal family. Almost every elf will unconsciously be respectful when facing Lavilia. Only Qingxin was different. He was very calm when talking to Lavilia, just like treating an ordinary person. Morningstar? Don't worry about it. Seeing Morningstar's puzzled look, Lavilia smiled even more and said softly. Chapter 86, 2,500 ability points. Heading to the Assembly of Gods for the whole afternoon. Qingxin was in the Dust Pavilion, exchanging magic knowledge with Lavilia and Lafia. It must be said that Lavilia is indeed a magician of IV.6, the strongest magician in the city, and her attainments in magic are really strong, and she can teach such a powerful magician as Lafia. Qingxin, a half-baked beginner, really admires Lavilia, the strongest magician. This guy, after decades of accumulation, is very strong in magic attainments. He has dabbled in magic of any attribute and is very proficient in it. If it weren't for the restrictions of grace, Qingxin thought that Lavilia would become an almighty magician, creating magic of various attributes for his own use. Even a knowledge of light magic that Qingxin mastered, Lavilia could talk about it clearly. Moreover, the magic knowledge that Lavilia talked about was useful, which helped Qingxin a lot. However, Chinching's attainments in light magic also surprised Lavilia. After all, Morningstar can directly control the element of light and naturally has a very deep understanding of the element of light. Even if he has only just started to control it for a short time, it is not something that an outsider can compare to. However, Lavilia can really compare to him. That's why Morningstar was so surprised by Lavilia's magical attainments. Talk to her more about magic in the future. On the way back, Morningstar whispered softly. On the other side, in the dusk pavilion, Lavilia put down the quill in her hand, looked at the magic knowledge she had just written, and nodded with satisfaction. These are the experiences she gained after communicating with Morningstar about light magic just now, and she has recorded them all. In the future, if there are companions with light magic in the family, these experiences can be handed over to them for use. Lafia, what's wrong with you? After closing the experience notebook, Lavilia looked at Lafia on the side and found that Lafia looked dejected at this time, suddenly a little confused. Ming, Lady Lavilia, your magic attainments are so strong that I can't keep up with your communication. Lafia said disappointedly. Ah, you care about this. Although Morningstar's magic is different from yours, he is indeed very experienced in element control, especially light magic. Lafia, one of Morningstar's light magic is very powerful. You can find a way to talk to Morningstar and see if you can get this magic from him by paying some rewards. This will be of great help to you. If Morningstar is willing to give it, if you need any reward and you can't afford it, you can come to me. Lavilia smiled when she heard this, and then said gently, Ah. Lafia was stunned when she heard this, and looked at Lavilia in a daze. Lavilia didn't say anything else, just smiled slightly to show encouragement. As for what encouragement, only Lavilia knew. As for whether Lafia knew it, looking at the elf's confused look, she probably didn't know. Silly, I have kept you by my side for several years. How can I not understand your thoughts? I have a vague feeling for Morningstar and want to get close to him, but I don't know what method to use, so I thought of the method of communicating magic. This method can't have much effect. It's better to find an opportunity to connect. And for this opportunity, your elf ring is the best choice. To be honest, Lavilia has a very good impression of Morningstar, because Lavilia treats Morningstar as a fellow traveler, and those who travel together are fellow travelers. The communication with Morningstar today made Lavilia know that Morningstar's talent in magic is very terrifying, more terrifying than anything else. Just as Finn and others said, Morningstar will soon stand in the same position as them. The same position that Finn mentioned is a melee adventurer. And now, Lavilia also wants to say this. Morningstar will soon stand in the same position as her. After all, Morningstar has reached this level in just over half a month. As long as it continues to grow, in another month, perhaps the magic harmony of the farmer will be enough to support Morningstar to have 4.6 magic firepower. This is a person who can truly walk with her in the magic world. The existence of the law. At the same time, Livia was also very satisfied with Morningstar's attitude towards her. In the past, any compatriot would be respectful when seeing her. Even Haydeen and Heg, the kings of the Dark Elves and White Elves before becoming adventurers, had the same reaction when they saw her. Even though they were hostile to each other later, Livia could feel their respect from the bottom of their hearts. This situation might be very happy for other elves, but for her, it made her very uncomfortable, and she didn't like this attitude. However, even if she scolded them, those compatriots did not change. Morningstar was the only compatriot who did not show respect to her at first sight, making her feel that there was a long distance between them. She could see when she came out, Chinching treated her as an ordinary compatriot. This made her very satisfied, because she finally found a compatriot who could communicate with her normally. And if Chinching and Lafia could achieve some results, she would be very happy. Chinching naturally didn't know the situation on Lavilia's side. Chinching had returned to the library at this time. After returning to the library, Chinching immediately started his grace update. Although it was updated last night, it would seem very frequent to update again today, but Chinching is now very concerned about his grace improvement. In the morning, his back kept feeling hot, and even now, Chinching can vaguely feel it. Chinching really wants to know how much his ability value has improved after a morning of competition. Morningstar IV.2 Strength, B728 SSS 1336 Durability, B729 SSS 1359 Dexterity, B708 SSS 1389 Agility, B739 SSS 1348 Magic, G286 E305 Upgrade, Optional Development Ability, Berserker, Swordsman Development Ability. Magic H Magic Thought Body Son of Light Son of Darkness Skill Rinrin I God of War's Protection Flame of the Sky WoW. Except for Magic, the other 4 basic abilities have all reached SSS. The improvement obtained in today's competition is really big. From B to SSS, this is already a leap of 3 levels, 2,500 ability value. In addition, the development ability of Magic has also been upgraded by 1 level. There's also a skill of Flame of the Sky, which is the power of the Flame of Death. However, whether it is Magic or Flame of the Sky, Morningstar doesn't care now. What Chinching cares about most now is his ability value. Seeing that his ability value has increased so much, Chinching couldn't help laughing out loud. This is the first time that Chinching has directly released his inner joy since he obtained the system. In the past, he would whisper in his heart and chuckle in his heart. There is no way who made the ability value increase this time almost double the previous one. At this rate, Chinching can upgrade again after going to the dungeon 1 or 2 more times. Or he can have another sparring match with AC and others. However, this is obviously impossible. Suppressing his inner excitement, Chinching restrained his smile and looked at the development ability. When he updated last night, the Magic Guide was still I, but today it has directly reached H. It seems that the only thing he did today related to the Magic Guide is to communicate magic with Lavilia. Can communicating magic also improve the Magic Guide's development ability? If so, then it would be great. However, whether it is true or not, exchanging magic knowledge with Lavilia is always beneficial to me, and I can exchange more with Lavilia in the future. As for the remaining new skill, Flame of the Great Sky, Chinching did not even look at it. After all, he already knew it. After returning to the bathroom to wash up, Chinching said hello to Hestia and then went out. After booking a room in a hotel, Chinching began to sit in meditation, transferring his thoughts and strength to the thought body that had not been released and stayed somewhere in Rio. Chinching's thought body was also in a hotel. After the consciousness came to the thought body, Chinching controlled the thought body to stand up and stretched hard. These days, Chinching rarely controlled the thought body to move, and most of the time he stayed in the hotel. Now it is finally time to use his skills. Controlling the thought body, Chinching rushed towards the Tower of Babel. It's time to participate in the Assembly of Gods. Old Biden Dionysus, you'd better come and join us. At the same time, 0.2, when Morningstar was controlling the thought body to move, there were several other places. Sada, let's go and see what kind of existence you are, Lucifer. On the roof of the house where the Hermes family lived, Hermes looked at the direction of the Tower of Babel, lowered the brim of his hat, and in the shadow under the brim of his hat, a pair of eyes flickered slightly, and I don't know what he was planning. On the other side, Loki had already come out of the dusk pavilion excitedly, jumping and jumping, rushing towards the direction of the Tower of Babel like a child. Hey, Morningstar boy, here I come. In addition to Loki in the Silver Mansion, Freya slowly stood up from the throne. Let me see what kind of god can actually recruit an existence like you, Morningstar. Freya murmured in a low voice, then turned and left the room, and also began to rush towards the direction of the Tower of Babel. Not only these 3 gods, but many other gods also set out at this time, each of them rushing towards the Tower of Babel with their expectations for Lucifer. All the gods wanted to know what kind of existence Lucifer, the main god of the morning star, was. It can be said that at this moment, all the gods were moved by Lucifer, whom they had never met before. Chapter 87. The noisy assembly of gods, the so-called God's Assembly, in the final analysis, is an opportunity held by a group of gods to relieve boredom. After the gods' families were supported, some gods became lazy. The idle gods learned to find other gods to make trouble and kill time with some boring, trivial matters. As time went on, this kind of gathering increased day by day, and the scale of the gathering also expanded. In the end, the purpose of the activity changed, from chatting to sharing the latest intelligence information and exchanging opinions. So the gathering is no longer just an exchange between the families, but has become an activity that cooperates with the guild and affects the entire city. The venue of the gods' assembly is the assembly hall on the 30th floor of the Tower of Babel. This kind of gathering can be said to be in name only, but the gods' assembly has been recognized and evolved into a consulting agency with a certain degree of power and can even influence the adventurer families. The awarding of titles is also one of the links, and now it has become a routine. The Gods Conference is held every 3 months, and the most anticipated activity in the conference is to give adventurers who have upgraded within 3 months some titles that are bad and enough to make the adventurers enter the shit book. Because the gods will give the newly upgraded adventurers some names that are like shit for their own bad taste. As for whether they can get a name that will not be recorded in the shit book for their own family's children, it depends on the strength of the family and whether the gods are strong enough. In the original book, Hestia was reluctant to give Belle a decent title with the help of Freya. However, Morningstar will not indulge these gods. If you don't understand the truth, then I also know a little bit of boxing. If these gods dare to give themselves some messy names, then I will not be polite and beat them one by one. If you want revenge, just come and beat the shit out of you. The place where the Gods Conference is held is the 30th floor of the Tower of Babel, the Assembly Hall, where the gods discuss things, exchange opinions and consult, and give adventurers titles. Morningstar took the elevator of the Tower of Babel and quietly came to the 30th floor. During this time, Morningstar had asked Aegina about the location of the Assembly Hall. So after coming to the 30th floor, Morningstar did not get lost because it was his first time here, and he quickly found the location of the Assembly Hall. Well, even if he didn't ask Aegina, Morningstar could directly use the veins of light to find the location of the Assembly Hall. Perhaps it was because the gods were very much looking forward to seeing the so-called Lucifer. At this time, the invited gods had almost arrived here, and many gods gathered to communicate. The whole Assembly Hall was noisy. However, no matter how heatedly these gods chatted, they would occasionally glance in the direction of the gate. As for why this happened, the gods present all knew it. It was nothing more than waiting for Lucifer to come. I want to see what Lucifer looks like as soon as possible. Hephaestus, I didn't expect you to come back too. I remember that no one in your family has upgraded in the past 3 months, right? Sitting next to Hephaestus, Freya asked Hephaestus with a faint smile on her face. Well, I know Chinching, so I came to see if I can help. By the way, I also want to see what this guy who stepped on dogshit luck is like. Hephaestus smiled and replied. The first purpose of her coming here this time was to try to help Chinching get a better title, and the second was to see what kind of guy was so lucky that he actually got a potential adventurer like Chinching. Really? Freya nodded slightly. It's good that she didn't come to snatch people. By the way, Freya, how about you? Why are you here too? You don't like this kind of gathering. There haven't been any adventurers in the family who have upgraded in the past 3 months, right? Hephaestus also nodded and then asked curiously. Well, I was bored, and I was as curious as you, so I came to take a look. If possible, I also want to see if I can dig a corner. After all, I am quite optimistic about Morningstar. Freya did not hide anything about the purpose of her coming here, and said it directly and openly. When these words came out, Hephaestus and several gods around her were stunned, and then they felt that this was in line with Freya's style. Morningstar is such an excellent adventurer who has upgraded in half a month. It is indeed easy for Freya to target him. Once Freya targets him, the 9th floor will be obtained by Freya through various means. The eyes of the other gods suddenly lit up, and they almost wrote the words "watching the show" in their eyes. Only Hephaestus had a calm face, but she was worried in her heart. After all, she knew that Morningstar and Hestia had a good relationship, and they seemed to have become partners. If Morningstar was poached by Freya, what would Hestia do? According to the rumors about Freya, Morningstar was dug up, and it would definitely be Freya's forbidden fruit, and no one, no god, would be allowed to touch it. Tell Hestia about this after returning, and let Hestia be prepared for defense. Murmuring in her heart, Hephaestus closed her eyes and quietly waited for all the invited gods to arrive and the gods' assembly to begin. Seeing Hephaestus like this, Helena didn't care. These days, she naturally inquired about the situation at Morningstar, and knew that Hestia lived in the library of Morningstar, and knew that Hestia and Morningstar seemed to have an unknown relationship. But she didn't care. After she dug Morningstar up, everything would be nothing to fear. However, gods are all gossipy, and Freya's words were directly spread by the gods around the two. In just a few minutes, all the gods in the assembly hall knew that Freya was going to poach people. "Hey, Freya, are you going to steal people from me?" Loki also heard it, and he stepped on the table and shouted at Freya with an unhappy face. Seeing Loki like this, the gods of fun present were immediately excited. Loki and Freya are the main gods of the two major families of Oreo. If they were to fight, it would be a lot of fun, enough for them to enjoy. After seeing Loki's reaction, Freya narrowed her eyes slightly and looked at Loki with some surprise. Not only Freya, but other more serious gods were the same. Hephaestus also looked at Loki in surprise, because she knew that although Loki would poach people, he would only poach those adventurers who were upgraded and reserved, and came from other families and could convert at any time. He never poached other people's people openly. But now, Loki seems to be ready to poach Morningstar. How could these gods not be surprised? After being surprised, many gods began to think deeply. To be able to let Loki do this, the newly upgraded adventurer upgrade record breaker Morningstar must have a very important secret. This secret is enough for Loki to break his own 10 strings of wind. And the gods who like to watch fun also thought about it after the initial surprise and naturally thought of this. For a while, the gods became more interested in the situation of Morningstar. Not far away, Hermes watched the changes on the scene, pressed the brim of his hat, and hid his eyes in the darkness. Sure enough, even Loki, after knowing the true situation of Morningstar, would not be able to resist poaching. After knowing the strength of Morningstar, Hermes guessed that Loki might poach, and when Morningstar poached his own family Ming, no one, after knowing the true situation of Morningstar, would miss such a monstrous adventurer as Morningstar. He was also moved. However, he knew his own strength, so he killed the thought as soon as it came up. The Hermes clan did not have the ability to snatch those large clans. On the other side, Dionysus sat quietly in his seat, watching the changes of the gods in the hall. His eyes were calm, and he seemed not interested in this matter. However, only Dionysus himself knew what he was thinking at this time. Dionysus was also very interested in Lucifer. After all, Morningstar was from the Lucifer clan, and he had asked Fellwise to attack Morningstar before, and even Fellwise's clone was severely injured by Morningstar. Among the people present, only he knew how evil Morningstar was. He also wanted to know what kind of god had obtained such an evil existence. At the same time, he also suspected that Morningstar was so evil, whether Lucifer had used some means. In fact, this was also what other gods thought in their hearts. The gods would definitely make trouble later. And Loki also knew that other gods would think the opposite. But Loki didn't care at all. Anyway, when Lucifer comes, he will poach people. Even if other people follow him to poach, he doesn't care. She is not bragging. Among these gods, except Freya, all other gods can fight. What Loki didn't expect the most is that Freya would come today. Then we will rely on our own abilities. Looking at the covetous look, Freya put her hand on the table, her palm on her chin, and said with a smile, "Tisk." Looking at Freya like this, Loki curled his lips. At this moment, the door of the assembly hall was slowly opened, and then a figure that the gods were very unfamiliar with walked in from the door. The eyes of the gods were all attracted at this moment. After seeing the appearance of the person coming, the gods narrowed their eyes one by one, and the noisy assembly hall was extremely quiet at this moment. This atmosphere lasted for a full minute before someone broke the silence. "You are Lucifer." Loki still kept one foot on the table, looking down at Morningstar at the door, and shouted loudly, I am Lucifer. Everyone, it's our first meeting. Please give me your guidance." Morningstar smiled and nodded, responding. The next moment, before the gods could respond, Morningstar's figure suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight. Then bang! Chapter 88. Beat him first. Communicate with Freya, damn it. Although I repeatedly stressed in my heart before coming here that if I met Dionysus at the gods' assembly, I must wait until the gods' assembly was over before letting the thought body change its appearance and then attack. But after seeing Dionysus, Chinching was furious, and the scene of being almost killed by the sneak attack of Fellweiss's clone appeared in his mind. I can't stand it. I can't stand it at all. So Chinching took action directly. What the consequences are, I'll beat him first. The fist landed on Dionysus' face, and Dionysus was knocked to the ground by the punch, with a bruise on his face and blood flowing from his nose and mouth. This punch stunned Dionysus. It also stunned the gods around him. It was not only because Chinching attacked suddenly, but also because of Chinching's speed. The gate was at least more than 30 meters away from Dionysus, but Chinching flashed past in an instant. This speed is simply not something that a god with sealed divine power can achieve. Sorry, I have some grudges with this guy. This time I came to the assembly of the gods, not only to give my kid a title, but also to seek revenge on this guy. Looking at everyone's eyes on him, Chinching smiled and explained. As soon as he finished speaking, Chinching's fist hit again. Before Dionysus could react, he was punched in the face again. Then, punch after punch fell one after another, hitting Dionysus' face continuously. Chinching did not hold back at all. In a flash, Dionysus turned into a pig head. At this time, the other gods reacted. The gods near Dionysus came quickly, held Chinching, and began to persuade him not to continue. Chinching also climbed down the pole and did not continue to fight. If he fought again, even if Dionysus, this guy, is very patient, and he is about to explode, Dionysus, who was helped up by the gods, stared at Chinching with gloomy eyes, but did not say anything. He had asked Fellweiss to attack Chinching some time ago, but now Lucifer, the main god of Chinching, beat him to death as soon as he appeared. This made Dionysus instantly connect the two things together. Looking at Dionysus's sinister eyes, Chinching did not feel any apology, but instead stretched out his hand to make an international gesture to him, and said indifferently, "Come to me anytime if you want revenge. The hatred between you and me is very deep, and it won't end like this." As he spoke, Chinching's eyes flashed with a faint light, and the gods around him all felt a murderous aura unconsciously, and their bodies trembled. Good guy, really good guy. This new god Lucifer in the lower world is a ruthless person. Looking at this murderous aura, he is ready to kill Dionysus. What kind of hatred or grudge do these two have that has led to this? Did Dionysus violate the heavenly contract? Hearing what Chinching said, Dionysus' pupils shrank slightly, and his eyes began to flicker. Chinching's words made him understand that Chinching should have known about Fellweiss's sneak attack on his family. After all, apart from this, Dionysus and Lucifer's family had no intersection. But for some reason, Chinching didn't seem to intend to expose the fact that Fellweiss was very strong, even comparable to IV.6. He didn't know what Chinching was planning, but he couldn't fight back, because once he fought back, Chinching might expose the matter. At that time, even if the gods didn't believe it, they would have doubts. The eyes of the gods would definitely fall on himself and Fellweiss. Being watched by the gods, he couldn't do many things. Otherwise, he would definitely be exposed if he did too much. Wasn't it just to prevent the gods from paying attention to him and suspecting him that he used the divine wine to paralyze himself in some things and prevent himself from revealing any flaws? There were still some unfinished plans of his, and he couldn't let them be destroyed here. Therefore, even if he was beaten by Morningstar, Dionos did not have an attack after hearing the Morningstar. Although it is for the sake of leaving, although he will be suspected, the gods will only put the doubt in conflict at most, and notice that the probability of other situations will become less. In front of the long table, Holmes looked at the direction of the door, and the feather hat was lower again. At this time, Loki also squinted his eyes and looked at the gate where Dionysus left. His eyes flickered slightly. Not only Loki, Freya, and Ganesha, but all the main gods of large families were interested in this. Okay, let's start the gods' assembly next. This is my first time to attend the gods' assembly. I don't know the process of the gods' assembly. I would like to trouble you seniors to show me a demonstration first. Ignoring the gazes of the gods, Morning Star came to sit beside Hephaestus and said to the gods with a smile. Seeing Morning Star sitting down, the gods came back to their senses, and their eyes fell on Morning Star, and they also noticed Morning Star's appearance. Morning Star's thought body looked somewhat similar to Morning Star, also with long silver hair. But Morning Star's silver hair was tied into a high ponytail, while Lucifer's was loose. In addition, Morning Star had pointed ears, while Lucifer's ears were normal ears. As for the rest of his posture, even if he was sitting, the gods could see that Lucifer's posture was upright, and his appearance was different from Morning Star's, but he was also very handsome, exactly what a god should have. You really made an incredible start on your first visit. A god started to speak, joking with Chinching. Others also started to make a noise. It couldn't be helped. This was the first time this had happened since the gods held the gods' assembly. Dionysus was beaten into a pig's head by Chinching. Well, I have a grudge against that guy. Chinching smiled and explained again. The gods heard this and expressed their understanding. They were quite curious about this matter, and they might try to investigate it after the gods' assembly. But now as the gods' assembly, it is not appropriate to talk about this matter. And at this moment, 10 long voices sounded in the Gene Hall. Now I declare the 1000th Gods Assembly has officially begun. This time, the MC is me, Loki. Please take care of me. Oh! As Loki's voice fell, there was a warm cheers and applause at the scene, which was unprecedented. Then the Gods Assembly officially began. The gods began to talk to each other. Quick question and answer. First of all, information exchange. Does anyone have something interesting to say? Yes. I heard that Brother Suemo was warned by the guild, and his only interest was confiscated. What did you say? What is Sumo's interest? Oh, this. I think it was probably Sister Aina who confiscated it. I didn't expect the first topic to be Suemo, who has no friends. What happened later? I heard that he hugged his knees and huddled in the corner of the room. I really want to see it. I will go to comfort Brother Suemo after the gods' assembly. The gods talked one after another and began to expose each other's scars. Morning Star just watched quietly, without any intention of interrupting. Nice to meet you, Lucifer. I am Hephaestus. Please give me more advice in the future. At this time, Hephaestus, who was beside Morning Star, stretched out her hand to Morning Star and introduced herself. Lucifer, Hephaestus, I've heard about you from Morning Star. Please take care of that useless brat. Morning Star also reached out his hand, shook it with him, and smiled. I will. Hephaestus nodded slightly. At this moment, Freya on the other side of Hephaestus also spoke. Nice to meet you, Lucifer. I'm Freya. Freya, like Hephaestus, smiled and said to Morning Star, nice to meet you, Freya. I've heard your name from that brat many times. Morning Star saw this and smiled and replied with a meaningful look. Lucifer, you and Morning Star are really special. Freya laughed and then showed a meaningful smile. What do you think? Your divine eyes can't see through the boy's soul. After all, that boy is like me. His soul is without light. I also have a divine eye similar to yours. I have been looking for a human being like me in the lower world since I went to the lower world. It took me hundreds of years to find him. Looking at Freya's meaningful eyes, Chinching was not panicked at all. Instead, he squinted his eyes and smiled. When you go out, your identity is given by yourself, and your experience is made up by yourself. Let's throw a smoke bomb to Freya. Sure enough, when hearing Chinching's words, Freya's eyes narrowed slightly, and her eyes flickered slightly when she looked at Chinching. Have you been in the lower world for hundreds of years? No one has heard of your name for hundreds of years. You are really good at hiding, Lucifer. Hephaestus spoke at this time, a little surprised. I went to the lower world because I had a special premonition. Hundreds of years ago, I felt that a child similar to me would appear in the lower world, so I went to the lower world. As a result, I searched for hundreds of years and traveled all over the continent before I found that bad boy in Ororio. If I had known that the bad boy was born more than 10 years ago, I would not have gone to the lower world so early, wasting hundreds of years of my time in vain. Chinching nodded and then showed a helpless look. Just give an explanation casually. Anyway, they can't tell the truth. Then,
no more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.